Hey guys, I know we don't have anybody in here
Oh,
right now, but surely they'll start coming in. Um, Foul Play's still on, and I know a couple of them. We're gonna come over, but we just wanted to give we're gonna start the Stephen Avery Brandon Dassey case. I've been wanting to do this forever since I first started YouTube, and Checking Convictions was going to do it with me, and I have some other creators that are going to do it with me, but we've got to get them all together. And but Becca Chu has agreed to step in and help out. We're Checking Convictions was going to help me, so we appreciate you, Becca Chu. Thank you so much for helping me,
thank you for
and
having me.
and I just appreciate all the time and effort that you've put into Brandon's case. I mean, I know that you carry him in your heart every day, and I know that you are dedicated and that you believe wholeheartedly in his innocence, and I just give you the praise of all the work that you put into the case because I know you worked really hard for it. And
Thank you. Yeah, he's an amazing person, and he truly is one of the sweetest, nicest people you would ever meet. He wouldn't hurt a fly. Completely and totally innocent of
Ron,
what they charged him with.
when I first saw the interrogation of Brandon, he reminded me so much of my son because my son was, he was 17, and he had never, he's a mama boy, he never been in trouble, never even got a spanking, he would never hurt a fly ever. And for them to railroad him the way that they did, they didn't even interrogate him until um, the day before he turned 18. And then they arrested him when he was 18. And it was devastating. They
Wow.
destroyed our family. Our family was
Yeah.
destroyed, and we can't ever get that back. And
Well, they say wrongful convictions, doesn't just destroy the person, it destroys the family, the community,
mhm.
you know.
and
Everyone
the
suffers.
and with when they do wrongful convictions, the ones that do it, they don't even give it a second thought. They just move on to the next case. A win under their belt is what they had to put those marks up there, and that's all they care is that's a win for them. They don't even see them as human beings. And it was my son did 18 years, and I did every day with him, and I didn't start moving on until he got out, and it's been rough on him
Has
since he's been
he
out too.
Has he fought for his innocence? Like, has he appealed it?
Mm,
And
no, he won't
is
because
he
of mm,
he's worried that
um
he might do more to him?
they will. Yeah,
Yeah.
they before he got out, he was almost killed and threatened. They said that they would
Oh,
take him out and his family. So
that's
I wanted
heartbreaking.
him to
I'm
write a
sorry.
book. I wanted him to write a book, and he won't even write a book. He won't even talk about it.
Yeah.
And the corruption doesn't end there. Once he got in there, the corruption goes deeper than that. The whole 18
Right.
years he was in there, the corruption is so thick here in our state that the law enforcement has the DOC has monopolized the drugs, the um, cell phones, every money
Yeah.
making technique that the prisoners have. The DOC's the ones bringing it in.
Yep. Yeah. They
Mm.
control everything. Yeah.
Yeah, they do, and the corruption runs so um, deep that there's nothing that you can really do anything about it. Hi, Kelly. Hi. Hello, Nan's Life. Nan's Life, she's from Foul Play.
Nan.
We have
Yeah. Hey,
Becca Q
Nan's life.
on panel with me, but
Let me
yeah,
get
the
to the comments
corruption
here.
is, I got to the point where after checking convictions, past, I just got to come to a standstill. I said, well, there's nothing I can do. My voice is not going to matter. And
You know
I
what
just got
Linda would say?
so discouraged.
You know what Linda would say to that? She'd say your voice does matter, and you should use it as often as you can.
Yes, she would. She would. Yeah.
Yep. She'd tell you to
Because
go out there and shout it from the rooftops.
because if one person speaks up, maybe someone else will. And I don't know if in my lifetime if I ever see them free, but I hope so.
I
I
say
know
it
Checking
every night.
Convictions wanted to see them free, and I I want to believe in my heart that they will be free someday. But
Yeah.
it is discouraging.
I
It is.
For me, I can't accept not believing that it will happen. Like I cannot accept that Brendan or Stephen won't be free.
Yeah.
So I have a forever
What scares me
optimistic
about
view
it?
about it.
What I'm really worried about, what really nags at me, is um, if they do get freed, will they? Will these people do something where they won't? Where they'll never make it out alive? I mean, that's what worries me.
Yeah. Well,
You know?
unfortunately, if it happened once, it'll happen again. So
Yes. Yes. I know. Linda is watching. I know. And yes, and it happened. This happens on it. We think that this might be, far in between. A case here, a case there, but this happens on a daily basis.
yeah,
How many cases is not murder? How many cases is it that goes through that court system that they know that they can get it under their belt a win, and they just do or say whatever it takes to do it? And these people, they think that, and the defendants, they, even if they're innocent or guilty, they think they can't fight it.
yeah.
The lawyers say, well, take the plea deal because you can't fight this.
Right. That's why I
And
don't like plea deals because it doesn't give a fair opportunity to innocent people.
and I don't think the court system gives a fair opportunity to innocent people, period. Even if you get a court appointed lawyer, if you don't have money, you still don't get the experts and the things that you need brought into court. And I don't think that's fair. You should get every opportunity that rich people have. You should get
Right.
all the opportunity that prosecution has against you. You should, there should not be a money dollar put on it when you're
I
fighting for
agree.
your life if you're innocent. And I just don't think any of them are fair because look at all the stuff that was withheld in these cases, you know.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you.
And
I agree 100%.
Kelly, I don't know if you know about the case, Stephen Avery, Branan, Dassey. You want to like kind of give a rundown? I know you could probably give a faster rundown of what happened
Yeah.
in
I
1985.
don't know. I don't know if it'll be faster, but um. So hold on one second.
Yes, Nan's life.
Sorry, my mom is dealing with the dogs right now. So,
It's okay.
but so way back, it started basically. Well, it probably started sooner than this, but like the Avery family themselves have been in this area in Wisconsin for many, many, many generations, and they've always been kind of um, ostracized from the community. So right off the bat, and I'm talking like generations upon generations ago, ostracized. But basically, what happened in 1985 was Stephen Avery. um, he originally was. Wait, hold on. Let me rethink this. Okay. So he was kind of like not really a troubled youth, but he got into some trouble with the law, but nothing like super awful or anything. He first was arrested, or he got in trouble for robbing, I guess, a bar or something like that. He got in
Mhm.
trouble with his cousin because she was starting rumors about him, and I just also want to like point out he doesn't have like a super high IQ. He
Mhm.
has a very low IQ, so his reasoning is not the same as like a average person's reasoning on why he would do things. Like it just, so like when I say like he was upset because his cousin was spreading rumors about him having sex with his wife in front of all the neighbors.
Mhm.
So in his mind, he grabbed his shotgun and he intimidated her on the side of the road.
Right.
And that got him in trouble. And well, he went to jail for he went to jail for that. He also was with some friends, and the whole cat incident involved the cat being thrown across a bonfire, which technically he didn't do that, by the way. Like police records show that it wasn't him that did that; it was somebody
Mhm.
else. But he did take the fall for it. The other person I think also spent some time in jail, but he's the one that mostly did for that
Mhm.
incident. But anyway, so now we're in 1985, and he's like 20, let's say 22 ish. He's basically with his family all day. He's doing things. He's going to Green Bay with his brothers, his wife, his kids. He has two kids at this point, two young twin boys, two girls, and then his wife at the time had a son, which he legally adopted, I think. So anyway, he's got all these young kids, and he's just spending the day with his family. Meanwhile, a woman named Penny Bernstein is jogging across the beach near where they live, and she was brutally attacked and assaulted.
Mhm.
And as soon as, she reported it and they got the police involved and she gave a description, one of the police officers says, "That sounds an awful lot like Stephen Avery."
Mhm.
Now, like I said, Stephen spent his whole time with his family, right?
And wasn't
So,
there? But wasn't didn't the woman police officer that did that? Didn't she have some connection with the cousin and they were
yeah,
friends and
yeah,
she
she
kind of
had
had a chip on her
connections.
shoulder.
Yeah, she was connected. She was like friends with the cousin
Mhm.
she was friends with the cousin, and the cousin's husband was also a part of law enforcement.
Yeah. Yeah. And so
So,
that kind of
so he was
triggered that
arrested
right
for
there.
that. Yeah, he was arrested for
Mhm.
that. She identified him in the lineup. With the sketch that they did, identifying him, the guy proudly proclaimed it was his first sketch artist based off of her quote unquote description.
Mhm.
And it basically, he took an old photo of him in a lineup or in a jail photo and sketched the exact same thing.
Mhm. Yes.
But yeah, so when they compared Steven's face to the sketch, they were like, "Oh yeah, that's Steven."
Mhm.
And then plus they basically convinced her to sign off on this while she was still in the hospital. They made her sign forms that she couldn't even see because during the assault, the guy that we now know who did it, Gregory Allen,
Mhm. Right.
punched her face so much that her eyes were swollen shut, so she couldn't even really see the photos that they brought in to see, can you identify.
Mhm. And she
So
thought that law enforcement had her best interest at heart, and they were on her. They were just getting the person that did it,
yeah,
and she was in trauma.
yeah. And this was also before DNA was widely used. Um,
Mhm.
so when he went to court, there wasn't like they could disprove because there was DNA left at the scene.
Mhm.
So they couldn't they didn't test it back then to
Right.
disprove or prove it was him. So he goes to prison, and I believe he got um I think he got like 5 years
Didn't
to
he?
20 years.
I thought he got. I thought he got 30, but maybe I'm wrong.
Something like that. Something like that. He got 5 years to 20 or 30 years. And the
Mm-hmm.
reason why that's important is because when he was up for parole after 5 or 6 years, in the state of Wisconsin, one of the things to be on parole is you have to admit guilt. Well,
Right.
he would go up and say, I didn't do it.
Right.
He would maintain his innocence. So he stayed in prison all the way up until 2000, what was it, 2001.
2005. Oh, yeah.
2001.
One. Yeah.
Yeah. When an Innocence Project took on his case and they tested the DNA and it came back to Gregory Allen.
Mm-hmm.
So he was exonerated. So that's the very basic rundown of his first case. So he's released, he's wrongfully convicted. It's 2000, the 2001?
Yeah.
I think so.
2001. And one thing, what they did with the witness, she pointed him out in a lineup. They manipulated her into believing wholeheartedly that
Oh yeah, she thought for sure that it was Stephen.
she didn't, because they did look alike, and
Yeah. Well,
they
they were both
manipulated
white.
her. Yeah,
I
they
think Stephen was
manipulated her.
shorter. Yeah,
Yeah.
Stephen was shorter and Gregory Allen was much taller. Like there was a lot of differences
Mm-hmm.
between the two. Like it wasn't like, oh, they looked like twins.
Yeah. And she did have
It
some questions,
was
but they brushed her off about it.
right. Well, and one of the things that happened while Stephen was in prison is Gregory Allen would call her and taunt her over the phone
Yeah.
for a couple of years there. And she would call the police and be like, I don't know if you have the right guy because the guy keeps calling me. And they're like, no, we have Steven. You know, you don't worry about it. It's probably just a prank or something.
Yeah.
So
yeah. That's shameful that she, because it had to have scared her.
Oh yeah.
Because she had doubt already.
How do you feel safe if the person that you think did it is in jail, but yet somebody keeps taunting you? Like, do you feel safe really? Like, So 2001, he gets out and he goes home to his family and everything seems happy. He then takes the state of Wisconsin to court, for a wrongful conviction case. And normally in Wisconsin, I believe the amount that they have set in Wisconsin for a wrongful conviction case is reimbursement of like $400K, like in total. Well, his lawyer was arguing, well, that's nothing in a person's life. He spent 18 years in prison, and he, 400K, that's nothing, So they argued,
and he showed how they framed him.
Yeah, and so he argued, he deserves like $36 million basically. So they were suing the state of Wisconsin for $36 million before all this happened. While he was out for the 3 years or so, he got engaged to a new woman because his wife, while he was in prison, divorced him. He moved into a trailer. He started working at his family's auto salvage yard. And so he was just concentrated on the lawsuit and all that stuff.
He was just wanting to make things better for people so it wouldn't happen to someone else.
Right. Well, and they created a law based off of him. They originally called it the Stephen Avery bill or something like that, where they have extra protection for people who are wrongfully convicted. So, I mean, he was definitely making changes in Wisconsin before all this.
And he was turning. I mean, he turned something bad. He was turning it into something positive, and trying to help other people in the future. He was turning, his reputation around even before he got convicted, he was turning his reputation around into somebody that showed he was a good person. I
Yeah.
mean, I
So
think
while
deep
he's
down
in
he
prison, though,
always was a good person. I think deep down inside, I think that he just had a chip on his shoulder based on, how people treated him.
yeah,
You
it's
know,
hard because you probably understand with your son also being in prison for a long time, you become very institutionalized,
hmm
especially if you're there uh, for not doing anything. Like you're innocent and yet you're being punished, and prisoners in
you,
our country are treated like shit. Like, and
and
whether people think they deserve it or not. Sorry, my dog
they
is
have no rights. They're not even treated as humans
right.
at all.
You're right. So they're treated awful, like less than animals in ways. Like
Right.
you get like poor quality food. You barely get
hmm
any space in your cell. It's not sanitary.
I could
There's
tell
no
you stories that
privacy.
would turn you upside down. I mean,
Yeah,
it is
yeah,
amazing at what they are serving spoiled food, green bologna. I mean, the food that they get is expired. All the cans are expired. Um, it's terrible. My son worked in the kitchen, and
yeah,
he said there was nothing that had any labels on them that they were even good for to use.
yeah. No, it's horrendous how they treat. And like I said, whether people there's a big debate. Do prisoners deserve treatment like that or not? Because if they're guilty, but I honestly don't believe they do. Like this whole experience has opened my eyes to the prison system and,
hmm
how the justice system works. And we don't even like to call it the justice system in my house anymore because we know Brendan. We call it the legal system because there's no justice in it anymore.
Right.
But
Well, this case and my son's case is why I come up with the name Broken Justice. Because
yeah,
it is broken, and I don't
it
see
just
that it's
wants
ever going to be
to.
fixed. It's not ever going to be.
Well, I have
I,
hope
I,
that it will.
I get.
But
I guess I've lost hope. I hope I get that back, but it's so hard
yeah,
when you've lived it, when you've had to live it. It's really hard to see past it.
yeah, it is hard.
And they,
But
they get money for. Okay, yeah, prisoners should not be treated well. There's people in there that deserve to be treated, like prisoners, but they're not animals, and they are paid a certain amount for each prisoner each day for food and clothing and heat and air, and they are not provided those things. These people are
right.
pocketing that money, and the burden falls on the families because we have to provide their clothing, their shoes,
Mhm.
their
Mhm.
their coats if they're warm. Uh, my son saw people freeze to death, you know,
Yeah.
because there's no heat. He's seen them
Yeah.
die from heat exhaustion because there's no air. I mean,
Yeah, we have that problem out here where I live in Arizona because our prisons, a lot of them don't have ACs. So when it gets to be like over 100 degrees in there,
hmm
it's dangerous, and they don't provide them with enough water or anything like that, any relief. They just are like, oh, live with it. You deserve this somehow. I do want to make
and
a quick
I believed in it.
correction though before I continue. I
I totally believed
I
in the.
said that Stephen was released on. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, I said originally I said Steven was released on September 11th, 2001, and you should have said September 11th, 2003. So he was released
Three.
on 2000 in 2003.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Republican Mark Gundrum, uh, he was the chairman of the Wisconsin Assembly Judiciary Committee. He was the one who started the task force recommending individuals to the state's criminal justice system aided at decreasing the likelihood of future wrongful convictions. It became known as the Avery Bill, and it was signed in October of 2005. Then it was renamed the Criminal Justice Reform Bill because a month later, Stephen was charged for the Hallback case. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. I was a little bit wrong on the dates.
That's okay. Nan's
So,
life,
but
yeah, they do have rights, but the problem with that is if they file things and if they're not a high profile case, then they are threatened and they will not,
yeah,
they'll be thrown in solitary confinement. Things will be taken from them. Their visits will be taken. Um, they do things to keep prisoners um, from getting to be treated with their actual rights that they have and for the prison system to follow the rules
yeah,
because they are doing everything illegal. You wouldn't believe the corruption that starts from the when you enter the gate. I was shocked because
yeah,
I believed in the prisons. I believed in the justice system when my son got in trouble. I believed in the justice system. I believed in it wholeheartedly. I thought that the law was on our side. I thought, we never dealt with them except my brother-in-law was a cop, and he was a good cop. I never knew that this stuff went on until this happened to us. And they do it
yeah,
so fast to you uh, that you have no chance of um, helping yourself. They run you through the system so fast, it's like blink of an eye and your life's over. And we were broke. I mean, we had 3 lawyers that ripped us off. We paid one lawyer the full amount, 350,000. Okay,
oh
we go
wow,
to court. He quits the day the court started. We couldn't get any of our money back. We had 1 hour to get a lawyer. We had to go get another lawyer, $350,000. We were all we already sold everything we had to do that. So
yeah,
then you're going with broke parents that my husband and my son worked for a good company and they believed in him and they put up the money. But we had an hour to get a lawyer. That lawyer was worthless. I mean, they all worked together. They went to lunch. The judge, the prosecutor, our lawyer, they all went to lunch together. I made a scene over there. I almost got arrested. You know, because I'm his mother. How can this happen? It does. And they will strip you of every dime you have, everything, and then leave you hanging in the wind and tell you now do something about it. Yeah, it's a joke. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, no, you're fine. There's just some noise happening at my house, so I didn't want it to. Yeah, work for people that don't have kids or anything. Our dogs are like our kids, so they're very.
I know my
They're
dogs
always
usually are
hearing
talking
stuff.
to me by now. Our people are used to background noise and stuff going on. But, and then Teresa Havok come into the picture. She was a photographer and she took pictures for the trading post. And Stephen had a vehicle that he was selling for his sister, I guess. And Teresa went out there to take pictures. And that was the last place that she was seen alive. So now this is where didn't the people that had come to investigate this should not have even been involved, correct?
Yeah, I'm sorry. My dad was talking to me.
It's okay. The
Yeah,
people that had investigated,
when Stephen was first arrested or detained for this, for first he was detained actually for a weapons charge before he was for this Teresa stuff. because they wanted him quickly. Well, once they charged him with Teresa, hold on, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I
It's
feel
okay.
incredibly rude right now. But so yeah, when he was first arrested, and they basically said there was a conflict of interest because he has this lawsuit going on too at the same time. So you guys have to
Right.
remember when he was arrested, he still was having an ongoing lawsuit for his first wrongful conviction, and he was very vocal in the media about this being retaliation.
Right.
So so they decided to bring in a separate department to investigate, but they said that the Manitowoc department, which is the one that originally arrested him for all of this, wasn't allowed to interfere, but just to assist. But a lot of the things that were happening were because of the Manitowoc Police Department, so it went beyond just assisting.
They were
Things,
in charge of it. I mean, I never seen the FBI or anything do anything until it was after these people had already swooped in and done the damage.
yeah,
I mean, they should have never even been over there investigating this. I mean, it should have been thrown out of court just right there. It should have stopped right there. And how could
well,
they let this move forward?
yeah,
I mean, it's just it's just so obvious. I mean, that they had it in. They knew. I mean, it's just written. I mean, it's just you might as well put banners out. That they did this, but nobody wants to
right,
admit to any of it.
right,
That's what they've done is
yeah,
dug their heels in and stuck to their same story. They stuck to it and they're not wavering. And and the judges on up to, I don't care how far it goes up, they're going to take law enforcement side. I
right.
mean,
Well, let me gather my thoughts here. So Stephen gets arrested. So basically, on October 31st, Teresa Hallback goes and does her rounds. She's a photographer, and one of the jobs she has is she takes pictures for this magazine called Auto Trader. So Stephen called in and wanted somebody to come out to take pictures of a car or a van he was going to try to sell, and Teresa was the photographer. Now, it's important to note she's been out there quite a few times before this. So if anybody's like, oh, well, she felt unsafe or whatever, she's been out there before. She never,
mm,
expressed. Officially, there was hearsay saying she was kind of like, yeah, I saw him in a towel because he answered the door when he got out of a pool, right? And he had a towel wrapped
yeah,
around his waist. But he never, it was never farther than that. Like, so they start the investigation, and then, like I said, oh man, my cookie's burnt. Sorry.
see, is that Gundrum is now a judge in the Court of Appeals? Well, it's unreal that, but if when Stephen went to court for the first his wrongful conviction, these police officers that did this, that trained him, that the county, everybody, their jobs were on the line. Their livelihoods was on the line. Their retirement was on the line. Their families were on the line. If they didn't frame Stephen for this, there was a lot of people that was going to lose their livelihoods. And it was these law enforcement saw it was either Stephen and Brandon or them, and they went after them full force.
So I have my own personal feelings about the whole lawsuit thing. Like, I
Hmm.
personally don't like being sued for $36 million doesn't mean he was going to get $36 million. The whole
Right.
point of the lawyer choosing $36 million was to prove a point that there is
Hmm.
no, it's priceless. A human's life is priceless. Like, you can't
Right.
put a amount on stealing some 18 years of somebody's life. Like, if you were
Hmm.
to ask your son, like, how much is 18 years of your life worth for being in prison wrongfully convicted? He
Right.
probably couldn't come up with a number.
Hmm. And
So I don't think they did this because of the money, to be real honest with you. I think
it was their
they did it.
livelihood.
They have insurance,
Yeah.
but I personally think they did this because they didn't want to admit that they were wrong. And two, I think a lot of people had it out for Steven as a
Hmm.
person. Because we're talking about a small community where everybody knows everybody.
Right.
Steven was not a well liked person his
Right.
whole entire life. Neither was his family. So that's my personal opinion. I don't think it was the
And
money. I
I
know a
think a
lot of
lot of them
people
would have
say
got
it
in
was.
trouble for the framing part. I think that if they, when they dug in, I think that when it come out to light, the framing part is what I think they probably would have lost their
Yeah,
jobs or something,
maybe.
would have happened. I mean, like they had the testing done and they didn't even tell anyone about it, and they kept him in prison for longer than what he should have even been in there.
Right. Well, that's something that one part of the lawsuit, a detail
Mhm.
of it was is that um, not the testing, but somebody called in um,
Mhm.
connecting Gregory Allen to this crime, saying, "We
Mhm.
think we got your rapist," because Gregory Allen
Mhm.
was a serial rapist in the area. And
Yeah.
the person who answered the phone, Colburn, which if you guys have ever watched Making a Murderer, you'd see that his name
Yeah.
pop up a lot.
Mhm.
He basically didn't pass along that information. He was just like, "No, we already got the guy." So yeah, there was
Mhm.
information years. He could have been out of prison 4 or 5 years
Mhm.
in
Yeah.
rather than 18. So he was a part of the deposition that Stephen and his lawyer originally were going after these particular people, you
Mhm.
know?
Right. And those
Um,
are the ones that mainly did the framing, and I think it would have cost them their jobs, is what I think. And
Probably, yeah.
that would have took their retirement. See, that's what I said. It's their livelihood against Stevens.
Yeah, I suppose in that sense, yeah. But like I said, I don't think it's the 36 million
I don't
that
think I didn't think it had anything to do with the money. I think it was their jobs destroying them.
right.
And
I think it was
like
about
they
power,
even
to
had
be honest with you.
even when they did the testing and they knew that Stephen was innocent. They sat on that information for what, a few weeks before they even uh, decided to do that. Let him go free. They made him sit in
Right.
there for longer than what that was. I know that was added in there too. That was done on purpose. It
Yeah.
was all done. It was done on purpose, and for the FBI not to step in and say, "Look, you know, this is somebody's life," but they didn't care because what they did was they listened to the rumors and everything that the law enforcement was saying about Stephen Avery and his family and how much trouble they were, and they need to get him off the streets because he wasn't nothing but trouble. I mean, of course they're not gonna look into anything. They're gonna listen to them.
Right. Well,
And
so a few months after Stephen gets so Teresa Halbach was supposedly murdered in October, and I say supposedly because a lot of people don't think or don't believe there is an official time because we've never really fully recovered the body.
not,
So
I
there
don't even
are a
think they
few
know
people.
where.
Huh?
I don't think they know where she was murdered or know where.
Well,
You
they
know.
they have assumptions based off of what was planted. But like as far as her actual body, they have no idea what actually happened to her. They don't know if how she was murdered or anything like that.
And you know what's so bizarre? I don't think they care.
No, they don't care. It's done and over in their eyes.
Right.
But so October 31st on Halloween is when they first reported her missing. One of her last stops was Stephen Avery. So the next day in November, they're starting to look for her. And then that's kind of where Brendan starts coming into the picture, because Stephen Avery's alibi on October was that he was at home and Brendan came over. So that's when they really honed in on Brendan. They honed in on the whole family, by the way. It wasn't just Brendan. And a lot of people think that a brother or somebody did this crime. I personally don't think that anyone in the family did it, because I don't think they cared if anyone else in the family got busted with this.
Right.
Because the whole family was not liked. So if, like, let's say, for instance, the popular theory is Bobby did it. If Bobby really did do it, the police wouldn't, the investigators wouldn't have cared. They would have had Bobby go down with Steven too. They didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care. They're not protecting.
Mm-hmm.
Why would they protect Bobby? They don't like the whole family.
Right.
So that's why
They would
I don't
put
think
Bobby down and Stephen.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Anybody, as long as it connected to Stephen, they wouldn't care. They're not protecting anybody in that family. They used and manipulated that family, if anything. They don't give two shits about them.
You know what stands out to me? What I see. I mean, what really stood out to me is her planner that she wrote her jobs in.
We'll get
everything
to
in.
that. We'll get to that.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's finish with the.
Okay.
So
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, you're fine. I just so Stephen gets arrested, and then they start questioning the whole family, and that's when Brendan starts coming into the picture. And the only reason why they really honed in on Brendan is because he's intellectually disabled, and they start noticing from the get-go. Like, they've interviewed this kid like 3 or 4 times before he was finally arrested. They started to realize they can get this kid to say anything that they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
If they wanted him to say something, he would eventually say it for them. So that's why they used him. They used Brendan to basically paint a narrative as to what happened or could have happened in their theory, but projected it onto Brendan.
Mm-hmm. And then they saw that they can manipulate his mother.
Yes. Barb. Yeah. Yeah, they manipulated his mother. They manipulated his brothers. They manipulated his uncle, his aunts, his cousins. That's why I was saying they don't care about this family. If the whole family went down, as long as Stephen went down with them, they wouldn't care.
They wouldn't have. Right, you're right.
So, but Brendan, unfortunately, eventually through multiple interrogations, was very slowly fed details that only the quote-unquote killer would know, and he repeated it back to them. And eventually, on March 1st, he's sitting in an interrogation room with Mark Wiegert and Tom Fassbender, and he confesses to rape and murder of Teresa Halbach with Stephen Avery. So he's arrested. Yeah. So the last time Brendan has ever seen freedom was March 1st in 2025. Oh, wait, 2026. I'm sorry. So the trial happened. There's lots of corruption in the trial.
Are you talking about 1986?
What?
1986?
For Brendan?
Yeah.
No, he wasn't born yet.
Okay, so when did they arrest him?
Brendan got arrested March Yeah, Brendan got arrested March 1st, 2006.
2006. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Stephen got arrested. Hold on. I'm kind of jumping between making cookies and
I'm
jumping
sorry.
on my mom's computer real quick. No, it's fine.
No,
I chose this life. So I just want to make sure I'm getting the dates right for you guys. I'm awful with dates. So Stephen was arrested November 11th, 2005. Then Brendan was quickly, or not quickly, but a few months later in March, arrested March 1st, 2006.
So they arrested Stephen in November?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
They arrested him in November. Let's see.
Because they went in and they found the gun.
They arrested him. Yeah, they found the gun and stuff. So they held on to him for like 48 hours, I think, on a weapons violation. They wanted to get him in custody. So first they got him for the weapons violation, and then he was later charged with the murder, kidnapping, sexual assault, mutilation of a corpse. Because that stuff didn't come about until after Brendan's confession, because that's all the things that Brendan said.
Right.
How old is he now? He was born
30.
in 89. Yeah. I'm awful here. I have a calculator right here. He's like 33 or 34. 89 subtract 2024. 35.
35.
He's 35 years old. So from the age of 16 to now 35, he's been in prison.
He's been in an adult prison since he was,
Yep. Since he was 16 years old. He was charged as an adult.
And he's had to grow up in a prison.
Yeah. Now, you said you didn't want to get into like the bit, you just wanted to cover the basics during this life, right?
Anything that you want to cover, you just go right ahead.
Okay. Well, just, during the time while Brendan is arrested, he had poor representation of counsel. He was assigned a lawyer who then resigned a few days later because he was like a third cousin of Teresa. So then he got Lynn Kaczynski, who then hired Kelly, what's his name again? Dan's life. What's his name again? Kelly.
Oh, I can't tell you.
I'm sorry. Right now.
I'm just
but
blank.
Yeah, his name was O'Kelly, and he was like a quote unquote private investigator, and yeah, and they manipulated him. They coerced him some more. They really fucked with his head. He gave multiple statements. A lot of them didn't make sense. None of the things that Brendan said in his confession actually matched the evidence that they had, but every time they would talk to him, they would try to make him match it. So, I mean, it was just a cluster. That Brendan did not get a fair trial whatsoever. Like, a lot of people can argue if Stephen got a fair trial. Like, obviously, I don't think Stephen got a fair trial. But you can argue that he possibly could have. But Brendan, full straight away, through and through, did not get a fair trial. That kid did not have fair representation. He was used. He was manipulated. Things were admitted where they shouldn't have been.
He had no one on his side.
Right. So, and he was, not physically forced to, but kind of manipulated to make phone calls to his mom confessing to things that they still use against him to this day. Like, it was a really awful thing that they did to him, and he still has trust issues due to that. Like, it's he's such a sweet and kind guy.
I can imagine the things they told him.
Yeah. So, but Brendan Stephen went to trial. Let's see, when did he get convicted? March 2007. So Stephen went to trial first, and he was found guilty on March 18th, first degree murder, and they dropped the corpse mutilation charge and the rape charge because there is no evidence. I can't stress this enough. There is no evidence that Teresa Halbach was stabbed, shot, raped, any of that stuff. All the things
See,
that
that's
they
where
said.
that I think that it should have been. How can they go in and say with what Brandon stated that they had her handcuffed in his bedroom and she was, hurt there, and there would be blood evidence. There would be her DNA. There would be blood evidence in that room. I don't care if they spray luminol. Even if you clean up, it's still there. There's no way these people that, worked at a wrecking yard, these grease monkeys, cleaned that up that well. They did not. They proved that it
Well, they
wasn't
left
clean.
everything but DNA. It wasn't even clean. They left everything
Right.
but DNA. They
Right.
left all the dirt and the grime and the dust and all the sludge. And like you said, these people they lived and worked on an auto salvage yard. They did not have clean houses. Yet,
Right.
through all the dirt and grime and dust, not a speck of blood or DNA.
I grew up right down the road from the wrecking yard, and my dad, did business with them and their kids. They were just, it was just like the Averys, and they were in trouble in here and there. Nobody liked them, and I mean, but it was just the way that they were, the way they was brought up, dysfunctional. It was just, and that's how they used their dysfunctional family, to destroy them from the inside.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
they really did. They did a whole number on that family. It's still the whole family is still hasn't recovered from all of this. Like, it's been 18 years since all
they
this
never will recover. I mean,
yeah.
I hate. It's my son's been out for a while now, but you never recover. You never get that back. I was his mother, and I was in there every day. I did every day with him.
Yeah.
I stopped living. I totally stopped living, and I just wanted to die. I didn't want to even.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say there was a woman I was listening to. Her son was also wrongfully convicted, and he was arrested on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve or something like that. And she said once he was arrested, she didn't take down her Christmas tree, and he's been in prison still for like 20 years. And Nan's life probably knows what I'm talking about, but she still has the Christmas tree up because in her mind, life stopped that night for her.
It did, and it does. And then my life started moving forward when he got out. And then he got in, but he got out and he got out into an abusive situation where his wife was abusive, and I didn't know. I knew there was a possibility, but he was isolated. She kept him isolated until he just could not take anymore. And when I got sick and went down there, it was very obvious. And he got out, but she tried to kill him, when he did get out, the night he got out. But I'm thankful.
Yeah.
But he has started living now, and he does laugh now, and he doesn't have nightmares like he did. And we are starting to move forward, but the damage that was done, I mean, I stopped having Christmas. I stopped having Thanksgiving. I still just, it's hard. And he cried because I didn't call him on Thanksgiving. And I forget, that he's emotional about that stuff. But I told him, I said, I don't do Thanksgiving, and I'm going to have to start thinking about that because he is sensitive about things, family things. And but it
Yeah. Well,
damaged my
it's probably
son.
important to him because that's probably all he thought about while he was in prison was
Mhm.
getting out and doing these things with you guys.
Mhm. And what he was missing out on, and like his dad died when he was in prison, and my
Oh yeah, that's
grandson
hard too.
he was in prison, and he didn't hear. His
You're
foot was
muffled.
damaged, and it
You're muffled.
hurt. And he was just
Broken. You're muffled.
like a chunk of us was missing. You know, they just ripped him out from underneath us,
Yeah.
and I want to write Brandon, but I don't want to bring him down. You know what I mean? Because I'm so emotional about it that I know I just know what he's going through, and it's hard to bear to think that another family's going through that.
Right.
It
I'll be
really
right back
is.
in 2 seconds. I'll be right
And
back.
okay, and when you get involved in these cases, I mean, you know, because I have looked at this case upside down and sideways, and it just infuriates me at the law enforcement did this child this way. You know, that they took a 16-year-old and they tore his life up, and just they basically told him his life doesn't matter, that they used him as collateral damage to fix their own mistakes. And I can just imagine what Brandon is carrying around with him, you know, and it's just not fair. This is just not fair, you know, and this is when I think that God should look down, you know, and um, you know, just I don't know what
Hello,
fix it. You know, it's just I don't know. It's just so hard to deal with when it's just such a miscarriage of justice.
Mm-hmm.
So then they interviewed Brandon at school at first, didn't they?
Mm-hmm. In February. Well, first they actually, if you go, all right, I'm going to promote myself a little bit here. If you go to BrendanDassey.com
Mm-hmm.
and you go to case files, I have from the very beginning when they very first talked to Brendan to where we are now. So they actually talked to him November 6th in 2005. So this is a couple of days before Stephen gets arrested.
Yeah.
Then they talked to him again on November 13th after Stephen was arrested. And then they go to his school February 27th and talk to him there.
That's the first one I saw, the one at the school.
It's BrendanDassey.com. It's a
And
website.
I'm gonna pull some of those stuff from that and bring it over here and show some of it.
Yeah, you're welcome to anything on there. A lot of what I have, I also collected from Foul Play, which is also their website is foulplay.site, I believe, which they have everything. Like my website has everything Brendan, but their website has everything pertaining to the case. Like even things that you would think like, oh well, that's not relevant. Like receipts to them buying things like tarps and stuff for the case, like, you know, but they have it in Foul Play. So
yes, they have everything, and I will put it in the description. I'll put yours in the description and theirs.
Yeah, but
so people can go
on BrendanDassey.com, if you go to case files, then you'll see from the very first time they spoke to Brendan, which November 6, 2005, which I believe he was in the car. We call it the tick, tick, tick video. Because he's in a police car, I believe, in the back of a police car, and you can hear like the lights going click, 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 or something going click, click, click. So So we call it the tick 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 video. But yeah, that's where that's when they first talk to Brendan. You can kind of see they're gauging him and how he responds, and how much can they get out of him, and they start to realize there that they can get this kid to say anything that they want.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next time they talked to him, which was a day or two after Stephen was arrested, it was more like a follow-up. Now, I want to also emphasize the fact that he had no adult with him during any time that he talked to the police.
Right.
Except for maybe a school. First they talked to him, and then they brought in Barb. But by that point, the damage was already done with whatever he was saying.
And the counselor wanted to stay with him, and they said that his mom was coming, and so they got him alone. That's
right.
The first.
They wanted to get him alone every time, without a parent. Even when he had a lawyer, his lawyer did not show up to any of the interviews that he did.
See, that right there, that's so bogus. I just can't believe this. And I mean, like my child, they knew I was not going to shut up. They knew I was not going to allow them to talk. They knew that I was not going to allow any of that crap. And they waited until he was 18. Waited, because it was just like 2 weeks before he was 18. And they even took away my visits from the jail, wouldn't let me talk to him because I was telling him, do not talk to anyone without a lawyer, and they told me to shut up, that they would remove me. Yeah. They would, even when he was in prison, I was not allowed to open my mouth about the case. Every time I was removed. Isn't that bizarre?
Well, I mean,
they took away my visitation so many times.
Yeah, it's not bizarre to me, unfortunately, because I'm so used to seeing that kind of stuff now.
Right.
Like, they wanted him. They wanted to isolate him.
Yeah. I mean, Barb could have stopped that. That's what I don't understand. That they had to manipulate her. I mean, she could have stopped that. Didn't she know that he did not need to be alone with them? I mean,
there's a lot of debate about that.
I don't understand that part. I'm sorry, but I just don't get that, because me as a mother, I was standing up screaming. They were threatening me. I got threatened so many times. It was unreal.
I think with Barb, I'm not making excuses for her, but there was a lot going on in the family during this time too.
I think Barb, the dysfunction.
Right. There's dysfunction, and then Barb was going through a divorce. There was a lot of other things going on. She has 3 older boys. Brendan's the baby. So I think she was being pulled at all different directions, and I think she just didn't understand or grasp the gravity of what was happening until
it was too late.
Until it was too late, until she was sitting in the interview room with Brendan on March 1st, and they're telling her, we have to arrest your son. I think that was when it finally dawned on her how serious this situation was, because also leading up to this point, they were just making it sound like, oh, we're just talking to him because we think somebody else did it. And Brendan has the answers to it. They didn't make it sound like your son's guilty and we think he did something, so we need to interview him. It was more like, your son is helping us right now.
Yeah. Well,
and a lot of it was the LE, like what Nan's Life said, strategically picking times that Barb was unavailable. Like during one of the interviews, I believe it was the March 1st one, she was in the middle of divorce court.
Right.
So,
and that should be so illegal.
I'm not giving excuses, because sometimes I have the same struggle too.
But they do know they can move. I mean, they do go around it. They will go around you, as a parent, because I stood up and yelled, and they waited the 2 weeks, until he was 18, and I had no say.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Well, that's why they
do whatever it takes. and they knew her being in court that there's nothing that she could have done to have been there to help him,
Yeah.
you know. And yeah, they were just crooked all the way around. I just don't see how they got by. I just don't. It's obvious. I just don't see how they got by with it. I don't see how they still are getting by with it.
Well,
It's so frustrating. It really is frustrating
it
that
is
they're
very
still getting. They are still getting by with it.
Yeah.
You know.
But, so between all of that stuff, there's been so much stuff over the last. Like, I've only been involved in this for 8 years. I got involved right after the documentary came out, and the documentary came out December 18th, 2015. I literally got involved January. Like, I was like on top of like in the groups. Like, I didn't even know what a Facebook group was until someone, said, "Oh, did you know there's a Facebook group for it?" And I was just like, "Really?" I had no idea that there was communities of stuff like this. Like, it was all new to me.
Is this how you got involved with YouTube and all that?
Linda got me involved in YouTube. I was never really into live streaming stuff. I just watched pre-done stuff. Linda's the one who got me into YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but
she was so amazing. Something I got to tell you this. Every time that she would come into my chat, because I did drama, I would say, "Checking convictions is here, y'all. Y'all calm down. Stop the drama. We can't talk about drama." I would every time. It was so funny.
She hated the drama.
But she still came in. I mean, she still came in because I would say that every time, because I'd say, "Okay, we're talking about something else."
Well, she believed in supporting people. She believed in supporting people and what they were doing. So if that was what you were passionate about doing, she supported you in doing it.
And my intro is, she made that just knowing my personality. I didn't give her anything. She did that all on her own, and that's why it's so special to me. Is because she did that for me, and I cherish that so much. Every time I listen to it, I just cry, because it's just, she did that special for me, and that meant so much. I mean, it really did.
Yeah, she was good at those videos, actually.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, it's just me now. But yeah, so the stuff that comes out, I'm just gonna keep talking until she comes back up. The stuff that came out between 2015 and now is all the stuff that we can discuss, like the day planner, for instance. Like she mentioned the day planner. Teresa Hallback had a day planner where she would write in her appointments and all that, and kind of like keep track of where she was going in the day. Law enforcement wanted
at least once. I always do, I swear. Hi, Betty. I don't know if you heard me earlier. Okay, go ahead. So where are we at now? We are where Brandon.
I was just talking about the day planner now.
Okay, you're talking about the day planner. Okay, that's what I want to talk about.
Yeah, because like I said, now that we understand the story, now we can talk about the small details of it, like the day planner. Do you have this on your... I do have a channel. It's called Brendan Talks 2.0. And it's mostly just Brendan stuff. And I haven't done any case-related stuff lately on it. Because when Linda died, my wind in my sail kind of died too. But I do want to get back into that. And this is actually a great inspiration for me. Because... coming on here and talking about the case. It's been a while since I've done that. Like, I'll talk about Brendan and stuff, but...
And maybe I will come over there and hold you up while you do it.
Yeah. Well,
because she would want me to.
Yeah. Me and Linda, actually, we were going over his post-conviction trial transcripts and talking about... Yeah. And we were going through those and talking about... Because if you guys have... well, thank you. If you guys have any free time and you want to, like I said, you can go to the website, Dassey.com, go to case files, and you can scroll down. And after his trial, that we have the transcripts to the 2010 post-conviction trial. And it is really eye-opening because they really lay it out plainly, everything that was wrong with Brendan's case. From his interrogations to what Len Kaczynski did, O'Kelly did, everything.
Okay. What I think the key is here, I think that if Stephen's lawyer would take Brandon's case, get him freed, then she can free Stephen. I think she has a slam dunk chance of getting Brandon home.
Well,
if she would do that, I think that's the key to open this wide open. She needs to, instead of trying to prove that Avery didn't do it, she needs to prove, what they did to Brandon. If she can do that, that takes away the case on Avery.
well, the problem is that they were both tried separately. So they have different charges, they have different motives, they have different everything.
Hi, AJ.
So if somebody, let's say Brendan does get out, that doesn't mean Stephen's going to get out because he was convicted on different everything.
But couldn't she open it up to where they railroaded Brandon into, saying that Stephen did it and go from there?
Well, Brendan's case is probably actually harder to get out than Stephen would be.
Why would that be?
Because in Stephen's case, he has evidence and DNA that they can test and disprove things. And like right now, they're trying to get the RAV4 and test that and all that stuff.
And Brandon's just on his confession?
Brandon's just on words and words alone. And how can you do that? How can you scientifically disprove words?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of so. And plus, just like Nan's Life said, Brendan's got two lawyers that he really truly trusts. It took him years to trust these lawyers because of everything that Len Kaczynski did to him, all the damage. So he really, really likes his lawyers. And
he has new ones.
He what?
He has new lawyers. I mean,
well, he has lawyers that Barb went out and actually found this Innocence Project for a wrongful conviction of youth, and he so now they represent him for him. So they specialize in wrongful confessions of youth and all that. So that's who his lawyers are. Steve Drizzen and Laura Nyrider. And Laura Nyrider has been in the news quite a few times because she was also helping other wrongful convicted people get out now.
Yeah. Well, have they moved forward at all on his case, Brandon's? Has
it? He's not allowed to tell me anything over the phone like that, and I can't ask because he can't tell me anyway. But as far as I know, they are working on stuff behind the scenes. I just don't know what they're doing.
I hope that they accomplish something. AJ, I hope you get interested in this case. You'd be perfect to get interested in this case. But, okay, so then they got Brandon to confess, right?
They manipulated him to confess to things, yeah.
And then it just, everything just fell into place for him, didn't it?
Well, they had a bunch of things that they felt like they had or found or planted, and they used Brendan and coerced him into trying to plug in the holes for them using what they already had.
Right. Yeah,
But
the evidence that they saw that.
Right, but Brendan's a kid and he wasn't in on it, obviously. So he made up a lot of stuff that didn't make sense, that you couldn't no longer collaborate those evidence to. So,
and what gets me is the jury. Okay, there's jury, and did they not have questions about the DNA being in his house? I mean, in not, things not matching up with like what Brandon said, the DNA being in the Stephen's house, or the garage not being splattered with blood, or because the stories that
they weren't allowed to use Brendan's confession in Stephen's trial.
What?
Yeah, they didn't use Brendan's confession in Stephen's trial.
Oh wow, that is just so freaking bizarre. It's like it was like it was two different. It's like two different cases that happened at two different times. I mean,
I never talk about case stuff with him, Nan. Sometimes he'll ask me questions about what's recently happening with Stephen's case. Because he sees it in the news, but he doesn't. But I don't. I don't really go deep dive into it with him.
And his poor life. I mean, he had a little girlfriend and everything. I mean, and he'd never been in trouble or anything like that. And for them to take this poor little old kid that was innocent and probably going to turn out to be a great guy, they took him and just ripped him apart and didn't even care. Just threw him in a hole and said, your life don't matter.
Yeah. Well, if you ever do write to him, like what Nan's life is saying, it's important just to tell him that you support him, and that means the world to him.
I just get, I lift him up because of the man that he turned into. He could turn, if he was a bad person, he would have ended up with a chip on his shoulder, with, in trouble all the time, mean, and wouldn't do the things that he's doing now. And he is so gentle. And the things I see about him, he turned out to be good in spite of what they did to him.
Well, he's like one of the best people I know. He's an amazing human.
And for him to have made it through this many years of prison, because I know it's rough. I know it's real rough. And I just, I take my hat off to him, because I just feel for him so much, because I know it's torment. My son told me today, he said, Mommy, he goes, when I was in prison, he said, it went by fast for me, it seemed like. But he said, now that I'm out and I see all those years that are gone, he said, it went by really slow.
Yeah.
And he was in there the best years of his life.
Yeah.
He was locked up the best years of his life, where he was learning, to work on cars and learning things that he should have been learning. And he doesn't know those things now. And he said that going out and looking for a job and finding a job is difficult. A guy finally gave him a job. He's working for a shop that does antique cars, parts. And a guy gave him a shot, and, he really likes it. But he said, he's learning. He's having to learn, because they said, do you know how to work on cars? And he said, I was so embarrassed to say, no, I don't know how.
Yeah.
And he lost his dad while he was in there, and that about crushed him, because he was close to his dad. And he said, the things I would have learned, and where would I be today if I hadn't been put in prison, And
yeah, that's the one thing Brendan got in trouble for in prison was actually 2 or 3 things. He had a couple of extra ramen noodle packets on him. So he got in trouble for that. He tried to
Oh,
fix a checkerboard with duct tape. He got in trouble for that. I forget what the other thing could have been. I think
Trent was.
recently, since I've known him, he got in trouble because they search your room yourself from
Mhm.
top to bottom, and they found like a naughty picture in his cell that he swears up and down to this day it wasn't his. So it could have been from the last inmate that was in his cell or whatever. But those are the things he gets into. Very little insignificant things, you know.
But they will get him on anything. I mean, like anything at all. You
Oh
know.
yeah, yeah. If you argue back with them, you
Oh
know.
yeah. Trent. He had. I don't think that he had less than 12 points the whole 18 years he's in there.
Oh yeah, it's on a point system, I guess.
Yeah, it's on a point system. Well, you can go to minimum. You know, he was in maximum. You can go to
Yeah.
minimum if your points go down, but his points just kept going up and up and up.
Oh yeah. Well, once they have a target in there, you know.
Mhm. And then what he got involved in stuff that he shouldn't have got involved in. He was too in at the end, you know, their last few years, and he was neck deep in it,
Oh, that's too
and it
bad.
almost cost him his life before he got out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sure did. And he even got a couple of years added onto his sentence, you know, because of getting caught with stuff.
That's too bad.
And he said, you know, he goes, "You do what you have to do to survive," you know,
Well, you know, yeah.
and you do, and that's
You
what
don't know until you get there, you
mm,
know.
you don't know. And I didn't know that. I didn't know the extreme of it because I didn't know anything about no prison system or stuff. I mean, I got in trouble. I was always in trouble for something, but I didn't. You know, I'd get arrested, and you know they'd be up there to. I never even. I was behind bars, you know, a couple of times, but just for an hour or two, and I
Right.
got bailed out. You know, it wasn't that big a
Yeah.
deal. And I mean, it was like we knew all the police and everything. They'd laugh every time I get in trouble, but it wasn't for serious stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but it was just I'd fight people. I was little, you know, I had an
Yeah.
attitude. But I mean, but Trent was just he was the sweetheart. I mean, I didn't think that when they put him in there that the reason I wanted to commit um I didn't want to be here anymore. And
Yeah.
I tell you, because I didn't think he was going to live through it because he
Yeah.
was so innocent. He'd never dealt with anything like that before. And but this he got in the cell with the old black man, real old, and he said that if it wasn't for that old man telling him how to survive, he would never would have survived.
Well, that's
He
good
said he
that he
told me what to do. He told me what to do the day I got in there and till the day I got out. And he didn't join any gangs or anything. And I was really proud of him.
Yeah.
Really proud of him.
Good for him for that, you know. Good. I'm
Yeah,
glad that he found somebody that he could trust like that because I know that's very far and in between.
yeah, it is hard. And that was in county jail. When he got in county jail with this, he got in the cell with this elderly black man. And he said, Mama, he couldn't even hardly walk, but he wanted to make sure that I made it through.
Yeah.
And I was scared to death. You know, I was scared to death the whole time, freaked out. And
Yeah.
we bailed him out. You know, he had a bond, and we bailed him out. And we didn't know that you couldn't get a court-appointed lawyer if you bail him out.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Oh, you can't. You have to pay for it. And that's why we had to sell everything we had.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's right either, because they beat him up so bad. Because we put too much money on his books,
Yeah.
and he got beat up because they wanted the money off his books.
Right.
And the guards opened the door and let them do it. And we tried to get the tapes for that, and they go, "Oh, those have been already erased." Yeah.
That sucks.
So once they're in there behind bars, the family has no rights. There's nothing you can do.
Right.
Nothing you can do to save them. That's why it's been so hard for Brandon and Stephen, is because once you get behind bars, it's hard to get you out.
Yeah.
I mean, even with lawyers, look at the lawyers that they have, and they're still in there.
I know Kathleen Zoner has said that it could take up to, on average, 15 to 20 years for somebody to be fully exonerated for when she starts working with them.
Yeah.
Now,
How long has she worked? How long has she been on the case?
for 8 years.
8.
Yeah.
I just hope that she accomplishes something. Is there? I mean, I was like, I think I was discouraged because I think that they were talking about her filing some paperwork, and that she couldn't do anything after that. That after certain.
So my understanding of that situation is that she misfiled something, and it was kind of a you can't go further with this sort of thing. But that doesn't mean that she failed or anything. That was my understanding of that. I know Monday they have a hearing that she's supposed to be going to with a new judge for Stephen's case. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
I think it's just a familiarity. I think the judge just wants to like touch base with the lawyers and kind of get acquainted with the case because he's new in this case.
I hope he's honest. I mean, I hope he's honest, and I hope he's good. You know what I mean?
Well, it's interesting first up because this is the first time since following Stephen's case that I've seen a judge do this to the to have like some sort of hearing like this. So it's different. So it's definitely like, is that a good thing? I don't know. But nobody really knows exactly what this hearing is for either. So.
And now, when is that hearing?
It's Monday.
And when will you find out what happens?
Probably Monday afternoon.
Okay.
Depending on people like foul play, like how soon they know.
Okay.
Is it going to be televised? Is it going to be closed? I don't know.
And I just don't understand, as much as, like foul play, all the people that are covering this case and the details and everything, don't lawyers and judges see this stuff? I mean, do they not hear about the bad things that go on in the justice system? And
I'm sure they're aware of it, but
don't they ever get interested in?
I'm sure they do, but I don't think that. It
seems like one good.
I'll go for it.
It just seems like that one good judge or somebody that can do something that would catch wind of it would look into it and say, what can I do to help? But it just seems like they just turn a blind eye to it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like that, they're behind bars, so they're not human anymore.
Right. Well, as far as like does the judge like watch foul play or all that? Honestly, if he does, I hope he never says it because he could possibly be thrown off the case. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he can't have any outside opinion other than what is presented in court.
Yeah.
So.
And for them to, want to kick things out because it's not filed properly and all that, and it's not, if they don't have all their I's dotted and their T's crossed, that is so crazy.
Yeah. Well.
I mean, and if they would back up, I think that judges, lawyers, DAs, all of them would back up. They deal with these cases on a daily basis, one case right after another case after another case. And it is just a file, just a case. They're not human anymore. And they deal with so many that they do start looking at them as like they're not human, that it's just a piece of paper in front of them.
Right.
And I think if they would back up and go back to the roots of why they started doing this, and look at people as human beings, as individuals, and really look into the cases, maybe they would see things differently and handle things differently, and
Maybe.
not want to check that off as I won that case, I won that case, I won that case,
Well, that's all
instead of
that. Yeah, that's all that matters to them is public opinion, and
right,
because the public does put a lot of pressure too. Like, if a
mhm,
crime hasn't been solved in X amount of time, you'll notice that people have like, well, you're failing us as a police station. You know, should you really be the head of the police station if you can't even solve a crime? Like, so I mean, the media and the public and all that, like, it all plays into each other when it comes to that kind of stuff.
in their failure to do their that has a lot to do with this.
You're
They
muffled
saw
again.
they saw junkyard people that they could, you know, cover up their mistakes.
Yeah.
And they saw my son as a nobody, and
Yeah.
it was there's nothing that we could have done. Nothing. I
Yeah.
mean, there's nothing. And even, us testifying and going before, I mean, it was
Sorry.
crazy. I mean, they didn't even go past
Oh,
I mean, they didn't even present anything about, when he was his personality or anything about him. It was just
yeah.
about the crime that happened, and he lied about it. He did lie about it, but he lied about what happened, and they took him down for it.
Yeah.
And but it was awful. It was really bad. And we had a jury, that decided what happened to him. I mean, he didn't get as much time as the girl got. I wanted her to go down. She was going to go down one way or another. She never walked out of that courtroom. I swear to God.
Yeah.
But she got a lot of years. I mean, she'll be in there till she's old, and she deserves to be there. But my son didn't deserve to be there. And
Right.
we even had when he got out, we have the paperwork to prove that he's innocent. And it was in a file all along, just sitting right there in front of everybody, and nobody got it out and did anything with it. And it was there from the beginning.
Yeah.
And my son has it. He has the file, and he has it, and he won't do anything about it. I told him he
Well,
needed, and he's been out for a few years, and he needs counseling because he carries it around with him.
yeah.
And Brandon will never be the same. I mean, he will never recover what they took from him. But I mean, he does still have a chance to have some kind of life.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, even Steven does at this point. You know, you always have a chance at some sort of life.
Oh yeah, yeah. Steven does too. And the damage it done with his sons and everything.
Yeah.
You know, the anger that they carry around with them, and I mean, the the corruption. They don't understand what it does to families. I mean, they don't. They don't understand what they've done. It's not just that they locked these two people up. You know, they destroyed families.
Yeah.
You know, and they don't care. They don't. And we will. I mean, we'll never recover from it. Never. Never.
Well, I hope he gets some sort of counseling or whatever, and deals with all
Yeah,
that.
I do too. I do too. I pray he does. He does.
Yeah.
He said this. He said you just don't understand the stuff that goes on in my brain because of all of it. And I can't help him. I wished I could help him. I try, but it just don't. You know, I wasn't there. I don't understand. I guess all the stuff he went through.
I think you being there for him right now, though, is probably very powerful for him.
Yeah.
And while he can't take back the years that he lost, you guys can help him make up for it.
Yeah. He's met a really good girl. He's met a really, really nice girl. She's really sweet. And my son's name is really unusual. His first name, Trent. And um, the girl that he's with, one of her sons is named Trent.
Yeah.
It's really strange, yeah. Like Alex Erickson, her son's name is Trent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's really because that's a rare name,
Yeah.
and it's so funny the people that are connected to us that have that name. But I told him, I said, you could make a difference to a lot of people, to a lot of kids that go into the prison system. I said, you could help them to
Yeah.
where they come out on the other side, like where you are, because a lot of them don't come out where Trent is. They come out full of anger
Right.
and hate, and they get in more trouble. And I have a nephew, and I have, a couple of other kids that got in, trouble like that and went in for periods of time and came out worse. So, and
Yeah.
he doesn't, and Trent doesn't hold a grudge about it. And I guess I do. I guess I do. I'm
Well,
real
it's hard
angry
because
about
you're
it.
the mom. Yeah, you're the mom.
Yeah, I am really angry. And when he got out, I just wanted to go screaming from the rooftops
Yeah.
about the corruption. I wanted to split it wide open. He goes, Mom, you will die.
It's
He goes, you
scary.
don't get it. Yeah, he's like, you don't get it. He said, this is a time you need to keep your mouth shut. Because
Yeah.
I talk a lot, and I'm like, I was real angry about it. And I really did. I thought that he needed to, you know, we needed to start a group. We need to start, you need to write a book. You need to start, speaking about it in the press. I mean, I really did want to go to town on it.
Well,
Cause
it's still time, and maybe he just needs to process everything he went through before he can, take those
Mhm.
steps, for to be exonerated somehow or
The
uh,
manipulation of the corruption, how they manipulated him into believing he was nobody.
yeah.
He was nothing. His life was nothing. He couldn't do anything about them. They had power over him, and he believes that law enforcement can do anything they want. He believes
Some ways
that to
they
this
can.
day.
Well, in some ways
So
they can,
I know.
not to be
I,
a Debbie
didn't-
Downer about it, but it's
I
it's
never
really
thought that
tough
that
to
happened.
like
I'm
fighting
frustrated.
injustice.
And them being able to lie to people like they were able to lie to Brandon and to Barb and everything to get the confession that they get. I think that's wrong. The people, I mean, if you're there and being interrogated, you're not allowed to lie, but they're allowed to lie. I
Mhm.
mean, in order to get you to say whatever they want, that is wrong. I mean,
Well, the positives to what Brendan has gone through is that he has shown an example of how not to interrogate, especially minors. And because
mhm.
of Brendan's story, a couple of states have adapted the new law where you can't lie to minors during interrogations.
Oh, really?
Thank you.
So he has made a difference. I mean, it has made a
Oh yeah,
difference. For them.
he's made tons of differences to cases, and that's what one of Linda used to things that she used to call him is Brendan is like the greatest teacher, because he's not only has his case being taught in law schools and all that on how not to interrogate, like how not to talk to minors, how not to ask questions, and how the read technique is bad and all this stuff. Yet he's still in prison for this.
Mm. But has he talked about it? I mean, has he talked about um, what he was feeling when it went on? And I mean, has he expressed how he feels about everything?
Yeah, but I think there's certain things that maybe he should say when he gets out and he has the opportunity. Like there's a lot of things that he was
Where he
feeling.
can be more open
Right. Well,
and
it's
feel
his story, and those are rather personal.
right.
You know what I mean? But yeah,
Right.
he has mentioned a few things. I will say, I think the biggest thing is just being lonely for so long, because for the longest time he just had his mom.
Right.
You know,
Yep.
and then the documentary happened, and now he has a whole world of support. But for
Mhm.
like 10 years, it was just his mom, and he was painted as this monster for so long.
And I can imagine him as being, 16 and in school, and he was worried about his science project, and he had friends, I'm sure, that he talked to in school, and his girlfriend. The, I bet he knew that he looked like a monster to them. I mean, that everybody was, like shunned him. I
Yeah.
mean, it's almost like
Well,
everybody turned their
everyone
back.
turned. Well, they did. Yeah, everyone turned their back on him, as far as schoolmates and
Hmm.
stuff like that. So, I mean, that was
And,
unfortunately the reality. I mean, everyone turned their back on. Uh, Society turned their back on Stephen twice.
right,
For Stephen, he's often spoke. The only person that 100% stood in his corner was his mom,
right, right.
too.
And,
So,
and she's gone now, isn't she?
unfortunately, she passed away a few years ago, right before his birthday.
See, and that's something that they cannot ever give him back. He was not there.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly. And she was suffering from Alzheimer's at the time, and it was just
Mm,
really sad uh, that she went like that, and then that he couldn't be directly there for her or
hmm.
with her.
But I think it's really good that we talk about this, because I think that it needs to be brought out more about, yeah, what they did to Stephen and Brandon is wrong, but morally, what they did to them tore their lives apart. I mean, it's not just that they framed them and put them behind bars. You know,
Right.
they ripped their lives apart,
Well, they
and they ripped,
destroyed a whole community.
right, and
Really.
they lied, and they made people believe things that's not true, and made people hate Brandon and Stephen, and it's just so bizarre that these people just can go around and live their lives and be okay with it, and it be quiet, and nobody say, look what you did to these people.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, they don't
and
have
it's
any
shameful.
accountability for what they did. And a
Mm-mm.
lot, the society as a whole, once the whole thing played, the whole documentary calmed down and everyone got back to,
Hmm.
whatever, a lot of people forgot about the case.
Hmm. And I think the accountability is what needs to be broadcast. I think that more, you know, look at what you've done, and people bringing it out and talking about it, and talking about, what they took and what they destroyed, and because it's not, it's just, it's every, Christmases, Easter, they just don't get it, what they've done. They just don't.
Or they do get it and they don't care.
Yeah.
Because as far as they're concerned, they got what they. Yeah, that's why I don't think it's about money or anything. I think it's just simply about power and being right. Like,
Right.
that's why states offer things like Alfred pleas, because they don't actually care if the person's innocent or not. They just don't want to be proven wrong. They don't
Right.
want to be liable for being sued or anything like that. So
Hmm.
that's how I feel like they just didn't want to be. Stephen embarrassed them. He embarrassed the whole entire
Hmm.
justice system, the whole entire state. He's always been very outspoken about
And
everything.
they look
And
like failures.
yeah, they looked like they failed big time. There was I mean, he helped pass a freaking bill,
Hmm.
protecting people's rights about
And
wrongful
they saw
convictions.
where they could flip that around and destroy him.
Yeah. So,
And it's just, I don't know, it bothers me. The case just bothers me. There's just so many, I mean, I just don't understand how that jury didn't stand up and go, well, where's all the blood evidence? Where's the DNA? Why is there not DNA in his house? Why didn't they?
There's a big theory that the jury, I forget which side, and I'm sure Nan's Life can help me with this one too, but there was they have evidence that there was possible jury tampering, like people who maybe shouldn't have been selected to be on the jury, who was a friend of somebody who joined both juries. Which I forget which guy had a sheriff or somebody go in and give the jury pizza during their lunch break and was able to talk to them. Like, that's very inappropriate. So there was there's a theory that there was a lot of jury tampering and corruption just in the jury alone, because like if you look at Brendan's case, for instance, do you have reasonable doubt that Brendan committed the crime? Like, there's no DNA, no nothing. So yet he was convicted. Yeah,
that's what I said.
With Ellie visiting and having conversations. Yeah, so like all this stuff slowly has been coming out through things like foul play, and
it's a shame. I mean, it the level of the corruption in this case, I mean, it's so obvious. I mean, it's obvious, and like me and Nan's Life tonight, the guy that came in was saying that Stephen's guilty. Well, then he said that after reading everything, and I was like, anybody that sees that he's guilty, either one of them has got to screw loose. I said, you have to have a screw. You're out of your mind, because they're, Brandon especially,
Yeah. Well, I always used to say, I can understand why people believe that Stephen could be guilty, because to believe that Stephen was innocent, you have to admit that the police and law enforcement planted and did things wrong. And a lot of people have a hard time grasping that concept of a police officer or a detective would purposely do something, to a person to convince them that, or to.
And it's hard for them to believe. It's hard to believe for them to believe that it would take many police officers and many people
it's hard
to work together to accomplish this,
because
and they did.
I hear that a lot. Like I don't think that a whole state worth of authority and courts and judges are that corrupt that would keep Stephen in prison. And I'm like, I don't know, because the corruption is so much, is so embedded in that state. Because like I said, this didn't just start in it didn't start in 2006. It didn't start in 1985. It started decades before.
And
the corruption and the people that were involved in all that. Like, this is generations of fam. Peg Lochenslager, or however you say her name, was at the time when Stephen was going through all this, she was the Department of Justice head, and now her son is the Department of Justice head. So like, that's what I mean. Like, this isn't like this was like,
well, that's why I was saying that they're all going to have to, all of these people are going to have to pass and go out of the system, and the people that follow them behind them, because they're connected somehow.
Yeah.
The ones that follow suit behind them. Like our governor, we had a terrible governor. Well, the governor that we have now, she's the one that wanted him in there.
Yeah.
So, and it just continues, just from one to the next. And, the people in power, they're not worried about people that don't have any money. They're only worried about people that have money. If Steve and them would have had money to fight this, it would have turned out a lot differently.
Maybe.
I think that the family, I just don't get the family. Why didn't they sell some of that land and get some money to get together to get them some, Brandon especially, get him some help somehow?
They tried to.
I mean, I would have
I
I'd
think
have sold it.
one of them tried to put up the land for Stephen, at least. Like, I mean, the family did all that they could with what they had.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they did the best they could with what they had. That's about summed up what the whole
And
family.
I think that their resources and stuff was limited because of all the media and all the negativity towards them.
Well, it was hard because while all of this is happening, the investigators are going behind the scenes and talking to the family individually and turning them against each other.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I mean. Like, they did the best with what they could. Like, it was hard because they're being told one thing by one detective, and then Stephen would call, and then they would talk about it when they shouldn't have been talking about it on the phone, and it just, you know, it just kept snowballing into something worse. But, like, you know, it shouldn't have turned out like that, but unfortunately they knew how to play the family against each other to make what they wanted to happen.
Yeah, they knew what they were doing when they went in. They saw they found out the dynamics of the family and the functioning and where they stood and how the family functioned together and how that they could separate them, where the flaws were, the cracks were, the arguments were, and then they went in and they attacked on those levels and it tore it. I mean, it just took it to a whole new level.
Yeah.
And it got so deep, and I think the blind eye, that it got, people don't want to believe that so many people were involved to accomplish this, but a lot of it is that they just believe whatever comes out of the police officers when they work together, they believe them, and when you work with judges and you see them every day, they believe what you're saying, and they just let it pass. And that's how a lot of things slip through the cracks, is because they don't really pay attention to what's going on. They just let them do whatever they need to do their case. And they ignore them.
There's a lot of politics involved with there's a lot of politics involved with judges and lawyers and all that stuff that there shouldn't be. And
yeah, there's a lot of, there's just so many factors that run. My brother-in-law would, he would tell us, the crookedest, the worst criminals in the world are police officers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan.
And he was an honest, good man.
Yeah,
he was an honest, good man.
Well, that's the question I always pose to all these professionals, these lawyers and police officers and all that. Would you be okay with how they handled Brendan's case? Like, would you honestly be like, yeah, sure, son, go talk to that detective by yourself? Anybody would tell you that what they did was wrong to Brendan.
If they can they not just step back and put themselves in Brandon's family's shoes? What if it was their son?
Exactly. What if it was their son sitting there? Like, and that's and I'm not talking directly at Isha. I'm not sure how you, because like I know they just said that they think Stephen's guilty, but that's what I would ask any guilter who thinks that Brendan, was guilty and he's exactly where he belongs. Would you be okay if your son was treated that way? Would you be okay if he talked alone with detectives on multiple occasions at multiple times alone? Would you be okay?
They would have never gotten the word out of him.
Yeah, would you be okay if after he was arrested and he had a lawyer, if the lawyer abandoned him multiple times with detectives and this quote unquote private investigator?
Right.
Like, and I guarantee you nobody would be okay with that.
No, nobody would allow that.
Yeah, nobody would be okay with that.
They should do mock trials and put the, judges in that place. This is your son and this is what's happening. What steps would you take? I would like to ask a judge that. Take this case and put it as your son and tell me what steps you would take to protect your son. And I guarantee you their son wouldn't open their mouth and wouldn't say a word to anybody. And if Brandon had just kept his mouth shut and not said a word, they wouldn't have had anything.
Unfortunately, yeah, if Brendan hadn't have spoken to the detectives,
Hmm.
then there
But he'd
wouldn't
never
be
been in trouble if he had only known to
right.
not talk. But no, he had never been in trouble and never gotten that situation, never
Well, and
had
like I
been
said,
told.
the investigator's spin on this whole thing was, "You're helping us."
Yeah. Yeah. You're
Like
helping this family.
that's what they told Barb. You're helping us. He's helping us find out what happened to Teresa because he knows
Hmm.
something that happened or blah blah blah. Not that we think your son is implicated in murder.
Hmm. And my biggest thing is no disrespect to the family of Teresa Halbach at all. But how is that family okay with this case? How are they okay with seeing what happened to Brandon? How are they okay with saying that that's what happened to their daughter? How are they when they can? I would listen to that if that happened to my kid and say, "There's no way that this could have happened."
Well,
You know, if
you,
they would have just,
I do defend
mm,
them a little bit because I feel like in their circumstances, not only did they have law enforcement and the media and everybody else around them painting Stephen and Brendan as these bad guys, like they were
monster,
told, yeah, they were, they were informed of things, like, oh, well, your son or Brendan did this or Brendan did that, or, you know what I mean? Like,
hmm
they, if you were told that, I think a normal person would probably be like, oh my God, like,
right,
um, if they honestly, but they were shown specific things for a reason to believe that,
right, right. And
because
they're
they were
grieved. I
watching
guess
the
they're
media.
grieved
Yeah, they're
and
they're
being,
more concerned about finding justice for their daughter, and
right. And
they
I
turn
know
on
there's a
the
lot of
news,
things.
watch the same news as everybody else, and they can see like, oh well, Brendan
Mhm.
confessed to this, Brendan confessed to that, and a lot of
And,
people these even nowadays will say, it. Why would you confess to something if you didn't do it?
mhm, right. They just, poor Brandon. I just feel so sorry for him.
Yeah.
I mean, because he knows now. I mean, he knows what they did to him, and he'll never get over that. You know, I just hope that someday he's free, and I know he's going to help so many people. I know he is. I
Oh,
mean,
he already is. Like he helps so many people even now just through being friends with them, and
hmm
he because of people like me, and there's another group out there that does things for him, but like we've held fundraisers on behalf of Brendan, for like what's that Christmas tree angel thing.
oh yeah,
Yeah, or like, well, some this time of year normally he'll ask people, in lieu of money or whatever, to please donate to the Christmas Angel Tree Fund or something for, or stuff like that.
hmm
Like
yeah,
um like one person held a fundraiser in Canada for a hospital, a kids hospital, in honor of Brendan, and raised money for this, like just stuff like that. Um, so he is changing the world from where he is. He's
hmm
making a difference in law and how they
hmm
teach law and how they teach the Reed technique, which is being always discussed as
hmm
being improper, and so like
yeah.
he's making a difference. You know,
Well, I was thinking
unfortunately.
about like donating to like um what, like they have a home here for juveniles that are troubled and stuff. I was thinking about like donating in Brandon's name, to help one of the kids or something.
That would be amazing.
Uh,
That's the kind of stuff that, too, that if you do decide to do that, write to him and tell him that, because that seriously means the world to him to know
yeah.
that he is somehow making a difference. And, like somebody, it's decided to make a donation and something like that in his name.
Well,
Like,
I think I think that maybe I'm gonna use my resources that I have from what I used to do, and I think I'm gonna find out if there's a kid that doesn't have a family or something like that, that needs somebody, a family, and maybe me and Trent can write to them and maybe, do a donation in Brandon's name and, try to be there so that they're not alone,
Yeah. I do want to say, Geisha, actually, I come across more people than you think that believe that Steven is guilty but Brendan's innocent. Believe it or not.
Right,
Like,
right.
a lot of those people don't like to admit that, especially in the community I'm in, because that's conversational. How do you say that word?
Conflict.
Well, yeah, like people will argue with you and stuff like that. But like,
and I understand that part because I can see that because I saw, one theory about, they said that, Stephen did 18 years and he come out with a chip on his shoulder and they think that he's already done his time for it. So why not do something, to that he's already done the time for it. So he didn't care. That's why he did it. And he come out, worse than what he went in.
yeah.
But
Well, that's why I'm saying, like,
I thought he was guilty at first. But then I started watching his demeanor and the way he talked and the way he thought, his thought process and the way he thought about other people and what has happened to him. He doesn't have a chip on his shoulder about it, but he doesn't want it to happen to other people.
Yeah.
And that made a big difference to me, him wanting to help other people.
When I first watched Making a Murder, I actually, I thought Stephen Avery was still guilty. It actually took me getting involved in the case file stuff and actually reading things and actually researching and all that stuff, that it came to conclusion that I didn't think he was guilty.
Right.
Because so like I get that. I really do, and I respect everyone's opinion. And even if you said both Stephen and Brendan are guilty, as long as you come at me with respect, I'll,
right. We respect your opinion. I mean, you're
I'll be
entitled
nice
to that.
and respectful to you in return. But
and it's interesting to find out why they come to that. Why do they? I mean, what makes them see it that way? I mean, that's interesting to me. Is how they view things.
right.
To where they come to that conclusion. Because, I mean, I like to see how people, look at cases and how they come up with their theories.
Yeah.
I mean, that's very interesting to me because, I went in different ways with it. And like the one guy, I can't remember his name, he was hired to prove that Stephen was guilty. And when he got into the case, he does it in detail. I talked to you about him one time. What is his name?
I don't know. What is his name?
His name. It's a weird name. But he does it in detail from beginning.
You're muffled again.
Oh, sorry.
You're
He
fine.
does it in detail, the case. And, I mean, he breaks it down to where that every little detail of everything that went on.
Yeah.
And that's where I went and got some information.
He was hired to disprove that to prove that Stephen was guilty?
Yes, his name's like Juan or something like that. Cannot think of his name. Darn it. I'm going to have to go and look. But yeah, he has a lot. I'm talking like he's got like 100 and something videos on it.
Yeah.
And he breaks the case down. I mean, micro breaks it down.
Yeah.
I went and fact checked everything he said. And he even shows everything where he gets all this information. And you can go look at the case files. Everything is right there in front of your face. And it was amazing.
Eric Cozy wasn't hired to prove that Stephen was guilty. She's saying he was hired by who hired him?
This guy, I don't know. I don't know who hired him. He said he come onto this case. He was hired to prove Stephen's guilt. And he got into it and he could no longer work
Like he couldn't
in
say
that
that he.
manner because he didn't believe that because of the evidence, he didn't believe he was guilty anymore.
What kind of
And
job is that?
I don't know, but he was. I'll find it and I'll send you the link, okay? And I'll
Yeah.
give people here. I'll put it in my community, so y'all can go and see it. But he does like video number part 1, part 2, and I mean he breaks it down micro. I've never seen anybody break it down so well.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And I think Checking Convictions is the one that sent me to him.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't remember. My memory's actually been really bad lately.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's the first time I'm hearing that. I can't think of anybody that would hire another person just to prove if somebody's guilty like
Yeah.
that.
He's like,
Like
and
that
he's
just
well
seems like a
known.
weird
This
waste of
guy
money.
he does a lot of writing. I mean, he does writing. He does all kinds of stuff. So,
Yeah.
I'll get it for you. When I get off here, I'll go and look at my computer and find it and
Yeah.
send it to you. But I mean, I have never seen anybody do it so well. I mean, it was amazing. Yeah, but they wanted him to look into the case, and they wanted him to um, find the proof of where Stephen was guilty, and he breaks it all down how he got involved, how he come about everything.
Yeah.
It's amazing. That I
Yeah.
listened to that girl. I probably got about I don't know 10 or 15 videos to go, but he did over 100.
I'd love to I'll watch it because I'd like to see his thought process from going from guilty to innocent. I know there's after there's a series called Convicting a Murderer that came out.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So like after Convicting a Murderer came out, there was a few people in the truther community. I'm sorry, I'm reading Nan's. Yeah, I'm interested too. In the truther community who then turned guilty I don't think it was because of the documentary. I think they were kind of like teetering over, but I think it kind of like pushed it over for them, like where they were like, oh yeah. So and a few of them I've asked them, like just out of curiosity, because it is interesting how you can go from one extreme to the next from the other extreme. You know what I mean?
And he's like some kind of investigator, I think. But I will go look for it for y'all, and I'll put it in my community post. I'll email you it back at you.
Yeah, thank you.
But I'll put it in the community post for you, Nan's Life, so you can go. But it's so interesting, and he does it very clear, and he breaks you just wouldn't believe he breaks down micro the roads that would all the roads. I mean everything he breaks down, everything. Yeah. I mean there is nothing, and like the paper guy. They were talking. That's what caught my eyes. Because at the time that this was going on, I used to deliver papers for the newspaper here. And
oh, really?
Yeah, and that guy, that saw what them pushing the RAV4 and stuff like that. When you're out delivering papers like that, you're the only one out there. Your vehicle's the only one at that time in the morning. The only people that are out that time of morning are people that are doing something they're not supposed to be doing. I can tell you that. And for him to run across that, and have to go around them like that, I've gotten myself in scary situations to where, people were doing things and I shouldn't have been caught up in that, delivering papers. So I can see. And it's very clear to you when something happens like that, when you're delivering papers, because it's so quiet out. When you run across something that happens in your paper route that's different. You know every detail of it too. And that is something that caught my eye, is when they had that witness that they just overlooked him. Like he wasn't important because he's just delivering papers. Well, he's a good witness because you're out there by yourself. And you're very alert about what's going on around you. Because I had a really bad neighborhood. I did a halfway house down here. And the paper person, I didn't know this at the time, but I took the route. The paper person before me got stabbed to death.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, she killed for no reason. Never found out who did it.
Holy shit!
And I
Just
didn't know
randomly while
this.
delivering paper.
And I took the route. I couldn't believe that,
Wait, so they
they
got
didn't tell
murdered
me.
while they were delivering paper?
Yes.
They just
Yes.
like so somebody was literally like, "Fuck this
I
paper
yes.
delivery person," and killed them.
Yep. And the
That's so
car was still
crazy.
running and everything. Because you leave your car running, get out and you have to port some, have to get back
Yeah,
in, and some you can just throw. But yeah, you have to get in. You come across a bunch of shady people, you
yeah, that's
know,
scary.
and the drug people and all that. My husband started doing it because it got really scary. But
Yeah. Did it pay
my
good at
husband,
least, or?
oh yeah, I made good money. I made like $4,500 a month.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, and I only worked 20 hours a week.
Yeah.
That was easy money
Oh yeah.
to me. To me, it was easy.
Well,
But
yeah, because it's like what 2 hours worth of delivering papers, and then the rest of the day you have
oh
off.
yeah, right. And you do it like I go in at 4 and be done by. You have to be done by 6.
Yeah.
And on Sundays now, Sundays is a real booger. The big papers, but Sundays takes like 5 hours.
Yeah.
But that's the most that you do. But it's an easy job. But you do pay attention to what's out there around you. You know what's going on your routes.
Oh, I
If
bet.
something
Yeah.
if something is different, if there's a car parked where it usually isn't, you know it. You just do.
Yeah.
And that's why they said that about the paper guy, I was like, yep, that paper guy knows because he knows exactly what day it was. He knows when it happened because they know on every day of the week. They know exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
You have to pay attention to what's going on around you. And I could tell you what cars were supposed to be parked in what driveway and what's missing and
Yeah.
what pod is supposed to be on this porch. I mean, seriously. Yeah.
Yeah.
You do it 7 days a week. Yeah. And that really caught my eye.
Yeah,
But
I'm interested to see what happens with that. Like I've said before, I don't believe Bobby did it. I know a lot of people think, and I know there's a lot of Zellner purists who think that whatever.
mm,
I think Zellner is going for the easiest route, and I
right.
think that's why she's using the whole Bobby
Mhm.
thing. But I don't think he actually did it. But like,
And
um,
I think the Bobby thing is because more like the family just turned their backs on Stephen and all that,
yeah.
and didn't even try to help him or anything. And so they're just pulling out all the stops and not going to help them either. I
But
mean, Bobby looked more guilty than Stephen or Brandon. I mean, because of
maybe.
the way he acted. He was a little bit on the weird side, but I
Well,
don't know if he was weird enough to do something like that.
yeah. Well, like I said,
I
I
think
don't
the
think Bobby did it, but I do think he saw. I do think the newspaper man saw something.
right.
So
I think that he did too. And I mean, I'm what? What? Okay. Um. Okay. The planner. We were talking about the planner. The planner ended up back with her ex boyfriend, right?
yeah,
Roommate.
what happened was is that the planner. Teresa wrote everything down in the planner as what her day was going to be like and all
Hmm.
that, who she was visiting, and then um so the police needed to know like where was she that day, because at one point she was just considered missing,
Hmm.
and that's when the ex-boyfriend produced the planner. And the thing is that the only person who should have the planner is wherever Teresa is. So
Right.
why do you, because she carried it on her all the time, so why do you
Right.
have, but they never really questioned him like that. They were just like, oh cool, thanks,
Mhm.
and just
And she
yeah.
also wrote things down up into in that planner. There was stuff wrote down that shows that she had the planner with her.
Right. Well, that's why. Yeah, she always carried it with her.
Hmm. And I mean, I just don't understand that part. And they were having problems, you know. I mean, they didn't even look there. And I just wonder, the RAV4 is what kills me is what were they pushing it? I mean, what in the hell was going on there?
With the what?
I mean, with the RAV4, with
What
the
what
vehicle.
what's going on? What do you mean?
I mean, why? I mean, like, that's what got me is why was they pushing it?
Oh, well, I guess because this is in Zellner's brief, I believe she's suggesting that they were pushing it, maybe so that no one would hear them enter the property. But around the time that the RAV would have been pushed, I don't think anybody would have been on the property because everybody except for like maybe one other person was up north during this time. Because this is where she's still considered a missing person. They haven't found anything indicating that Steven or like I think they suspected him from the get-go, but they didn't have anything yet on him. Not until they found the RAV.
But the RAV is the key. I mean, everyone who was there with that RAV had to have something to do with it. And they planned it on Avery's property so that they knew that to blame him.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, and I mean, they pushed it. Look how, I mean, it just don't make, I mean, they said it, something about it being out of gas or something.
No,
I mean,
no. It was like I said, they pushed it because if somebody would have heard them, they would have been suspected of pushing a car onto the property at like 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
So they were pushing it rather than driving it in.
And they pushed it all the way down there and then backed it in there.
Yeah.
I mean, that is so weird.
Well,
and
I
there
think
was
right. Well, I don't think whoever was planting evidence was exactly the smartest cookie in the bunch anyway, because there's a lot of mistakes even with the planted evidence. So
yeah, I think the RAV4. I mean, the RAV4 that just kills me. That
you know what gets me about the RAV is that there's an unidentified print on it, and it's not connected to anybody so far that they have fingerprints on. And nobody wants to admit that there's a print on it that didn't belong to Stephen or Brendan.
And who's to say that they even printed the boyfriend or the roommate or any of them?
I don't know if they did, honestly. I don't think they did.
You know, I mean,
that's always what gets me is that you have an unidentified print and you it's not connected to the two perps that you have, but yet somehow, like, how did that print get there?
And as small as that, and it was in a place to where that it would have been to where
like
they were pushing the vehicle.
Yeah, like it looked like they would be pushing it. Exactly. Right. So it's relevant to the narrative of, you know.
Yeah, ever who was there in that paper guy, that's who.
Yeah. Well, the paper guy said he saw a young guy and an old guy with a beard. And nobody can place where they think the old guy unless they say Steven, obviously. But that's not the case. But I don't even think he saw Bobby. I think he just saw a young teenager and an older guy.
I think I would want to be hypnotized to see if I could remember it.
I don't know if that would be relevant for it, but
I would. I'd go and want to be hypnotized, just so I could go back and see it.
Yeah.
I just would. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I just would. I couldn't. If I'd seen something like that, I don't know. I would want to know who I saw. Just so that I could.
Well, I guess he said, I think in his affidavit, he said it was like clear as day to him still. Like he can still see the face in his head. So you may not have to put him under
Hopefully they do it. Maybe he'll do a sketch or something of them. I mean.
Yeah. Well, and like he said, he identifies it as Bobby, but I don't know if I said, I think he saw something. I believe that he saw something. I just don't think it was Bobby. I think it was just, I don't want to be mean about Bobby's looks. He looks like a typical teenager to me.
He does. Yeah.
There's nothing really characteristically that stands out with him. Like,
well, in the boyfriend, it could have been him all sweaty and his hair messed up too. I mean, because he's kind of framed like Bobby,
Yeah.
his
There
frame.
was
Yeah.
somebody discussed something with me once, and I don't know if this has ever been talked about on Foul Play, but like there was this theory that this inmate and another guy was signed out on the day or the night of all of this, and that it could have been them pushing the RAV4.
Mm-hmm.
Like the law enforcement made them do it,
Mm-hmm.
and then they relocked them back up. But I don't know how I don't know
Right.
if that was
I
just a
mean,
weird
it could be
rumor I
law
heard
enforcement
or.
could have found. They could have found the RAV4 somewhere else.
Well, they did.
Um,
Somebody reported seeing the RAV4 in a cul-de-sac a little bit away from it, like near someplace, and they called Colbert. What is that?
my
Is that a
dog.
dog? Okay.
Yes.
I was like, is that a dog? Okay.
She woke up. She does this when she thinks it's time for me to stop.
Oh, is it time for
Every
bed?
live, I swear, everybody laughs at her because she does this. She
It's
cries.
bedtime, Mom. My dog does that too. She'll jump on my bed and then she'll just kind of like whine at me.
She's 14, and
Aww.
she's so bossy. It's so funny because she's been on these lives and just bossing me around.
Yeah.
Everybody laughs at her. She's a
That's
mess.
cute.
But,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm so glad I got to talk to you about this. I've been dying to talk to you about this case, though. I mean, it's just been so.
Yeah.
I had
This was fun.
I had so many questions and so like the details of it. Like how we got to where we are.
Yeah.
But like who is that one that's in here? Let's see. I don't know if they're still in here. Geisha. Geisha. Yeah. Um. I would like to hear. Her. Where she what her theory is about why she thinks Steven's guilty. Her opinion.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
that's what
I'm really
I'm
interested
always
in that.
interested in. I'm always interested in why,
I am.
especially if you think that. Well, like I guess I can understand why you would think that Brendan's maybe innocent or at least got a really bad deal because of how he was treated. But like, there's some people that say, well, he confessed to it, so it had to have been true. A lot of guilters say that at least.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like, do you not believe anything that in his confession, or you know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm. I just don't understand how they can explain the evidence. I mean, the DNA on the property. Um,
it's strange, isn't it? That's strange.
yeah,
You could cut a woman's throat and not a drop of blood in the bedroom.
not anywhere,
But
not one drop.
I have
And you,
watched Convicting, so I know that their theory that they feel like is that not everybody does that, but like I don't know, blood's very insidious and it gets everywhere.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, I mean, and especially what they said they did to her. I mean, there's no way that they. There's just no way. I mean, and like I had an auto repair business, and I was around a lot of salvage yards and stuff like that. And I'm telling you, in their garages, if there's so many little parts and so many screws on the ground and so much oil and so much this and that,
Yeah,
little things scattered everywhere. It's not all picked up. They don't. It's a mess. And if they shot her in that garage and stuff like that, there would be blood evidence somewhere on something, on a
yeah.
screw, on the floor, something because it wasn't cleaned. I mean,
Jail before. Oh, there we go. See, now there are 2 inmates that didn't return to jail before November 3rd that were on Hubbers. One was later picked up in Texas, and the other a few days after the RAV was located. Yeah, so like there's these 2 that they were signed out for some sort of program or whatever, but they never returned. And there's a theory that the state or somebody important hired them to push the RAV. That's a
wow.
theory. It's a what
Yeah,
they
because they
call
could have found the
it.
RAV and they needed that RAV to be on that property.
Yeah.
They just did. That's the only thing. If they could just pinpoint who was pushing the RAV, you know,
Yeah.
and them putting that RAV on Stephen Avery's property, that is just weird as hell. And when they found the
Um,
Rav, was he already arrested?
when they found the Rav?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, he wasn't arrested yet. He was arrested on November 11th. What
So
day
he
did they
didn't.
find the Rav? They found the
So
Rav.
so he didn't see the Rav, or they didn't.
They find-
I mean, it seems like the family would have noticed the Rav. I guess if they didn't go back there, I guess they wouldn't have. But they would have had to figure out a place to put it. And I mean, they sure did do it fast. I mean,
Yeah, they found the Rav on the property on November 5th.
it was on
So
the
he wasn't
31st.
arrested yet. So he was
Yeah.
arrested on the 11th.
So the Rav sat there for days.
Oh, he was given a release by Kratz? That's interesting.
What?
That's interesting.
What?
The inmate picked up in Texas that was given the Huber. That because he was released, he was signed out for some sort of like program where he could probably like a day program thing.
What is a Huber?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying.
The
It's probably
Huber,
some sort of like
the Huber release?
Huber. Oh, Huber Release Wisconsin. Known as work release, is a privilege that allows people serving a jail sentence to leave the jail for certain reasons. Working a job, child care, family care, community service, self-employment, attending court, educational institutions, medical treatment, counseling or therapy, assessment programs, parenting education programs. I wonder what he signed him out under. Like what reason did he sign him out for? That would be interesting.
Yeah,
Community service. I need you to push this Rav at 3:00 in the morning onto this property.
I wonder how you get a hold of something like that.
You'd have to FOIA request his records. You'd have to find the inmate and then FOIA request his records, and it may not be available because if it's a jail thing, some records
could be.
sealed.
Yeah, they probably just put them in a drawer.
Yeah, like there are certain records that you can't obtain of Stephen. Like some stuff is public information, some stuff isn't.
Mm-hmm. See that? It just seems like law enforcement is protected all the way around, no matter what you do, no matter how
They
crooked
create
they
these
are.
laws and situations to protect themselves. Yeah.
I mean, I think that they need to just do the justice system all over again. Something needs to happen. Well, what is gonna? I don't see any improvements. I just don't see anything happening that's going to improve it. I mean, there's more criminals coming out. More serial killers. Remember, the serial killers used to not even be talked about. I mean,
except for in the 60s and the 70s.
Yeah, but they didn't come out till later. I mean, like putting a label on them.
They they officially got. Have you ever watched the series Mindhunter?
No.
Yeah, if you have Netflix, you really should watch Mindhunter. It's because it's like an amazing series, but also it talks about what's his name, John Douglas. He's an actual person who back in like the 60s was an FBI agent, and they had him create a special unit to study people because this was during like Ted Bundy and all these other serial killers. So he was actually hired to study these people and to kind of create like a serial killer unit in the FBI. So that's
what I started college for. I was going to be a forensic psychologist.
Yeah, I would love to do that. But yeah, so they were starting to label it in the 60s, and there was tons of serial killers in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
Not like today. Today's serial killers aren't as interesting because technically the definition of a serial killer is you just have to kill like 3 or 4 people at 3 or 4 separate times.
Yeah, I think that the serial killer back then is a different label than what's on them now. than
Yeah.
what.
That's what I mean.
What?
Back then, they were much more interesting, like the Zodiac Killer. That was interesting.
I always wanted to just see inside their minds, what they were thinking and stuff. And then um, once I started studying that, I saw that the problems really was from childhood. I mean, if you can grab them at childhood, maybe you can make a difference. So
Sometimes.
I changed my major to child psychology because I thought, you catch them before that happens, and then you can make a difference.
Yeah.
But
Sometimes,
then,
because like Ted Bundy often talked about how he had a really normal childhood.
oh yeah,
He didn't.
yeah,
It wasn't until he
yeah.
started watching porn that he started having those kinds of. But I think you could be born with it sometimes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot that. I mean, if it's going, I mean, these kids. There's a lot of kids that do it because of their conditions that they're in, traumatized and stuff. But
Yeah.
mostly, it's people that are normal. They act normal. I mean, they can be in society and they can function in society. That's what is so bizarre about them. Is you could be working next to one.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what BDK.
Yeah. BBK. He was a churchgoing
Yeah,
family man.
yeah, yeah. I mean, um, my sister lived there when when they arrested him in that area.
Yeah.
And she called me. She's like, "Oh my gosh!" Just freaking out because he did something. There was some kind of work that he did where he went to houses.
He was a security. He installed security systems.
Yeah, and she was like, she goes, "He could have come here. He could have come," and she was just
Yeah.
all freaked out. I was like, "Oh my god, he's arrested already."
Yeah. Well, it's just the reality. You could be living next door to a serial killer.
Yeah, you just never know. I mean,
You
it's
never
so
know.
bizarre. But it is a lot different that when you look back on the cases of, serial killers and people that, I mean, it's just a different ball game. It's just society has changed so much
Yeah.
that those people, um, everybody saw them as bizarre and it just seemed like that everybody saw them for what they were. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now everything is such a gray area. They don't see the truth because law enforcement has gotten so shady that you don't even know what to believe anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what gets me is I just don't believe in the justice system anymore.
Yeah. Well, that's
And
why. And like I said in the beginning of the stream, in my house, we don't call it the justice system. We call it the legal system because there is no justice anymore.
no, there isn't. And that's the way I mean, I don't know. I just always saw, after this happened to, my family and stuff, I saw myself as broken. And then, I thought, no, it's our justice system that's broken.
Yeah.
It is broken. And in my lifetime, I don't think that I'm going to ever get to see an improvement in it because it's gotten so out of hand. I just don't think that they can get a handle on it. I just think that's impossible. Here in where I live in this big city, it is so bad that they do it right in front of you and laugh at you.
Mm-hmm.
And they will, right to your face, they'll go, "What are you going to do about it?"
Yeah.
I was told that so many times. What are you going to do about it?
Well,
There ain't nothing you can
and the
do.
great words of Linda, you have a voice and it matters. So you can talk about it.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you never know who could be listening. You could be talking and some teenager or young adult comes across your video and starts listening and feels inspired to go go become a lawyer and then they go create laws that help people. You never know.
Yeah. And I bite my tongue. I bit my tongue so much tonight. I mean, I'm just, I'm so angry about it all. And the things that I know, the stuff that I know about what goes on here, it's overwhelming. And
Yeah.
I'm I'm scared to talk about it. So, I mean, because my son's made me scared to talk about it, but it needs to be talked about. It really does need to be talked about. I
Well,
mean, because
also a thought is instead of your son writing a book, you could write a book, at least from a mother's perspective, of his
yeah,
story. Because it's also part of your story, too, in a way.
yeah, it'd be hard. It'd be hard. I mean, it's just so hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I just look at, even I know there's a lot of guilty people in jails that deserve to be there and stuff, but I know that there is innocent people in there that have no hope, and their lives have just been thrown away, and the key's been thrown away, and nobody cares about them,
Yeah.
and it's hard. It's hard to live with, and you know what? And you don't. I didn't care about the justice system or what criminals or what went on in the justice system until it
Mhm.
fell in my lap.
Yeah. Until it happens to
That's what,
you.
and I feel guilty about that because I mean, you don't see it until it happens to you,
Yeah.
and then there's nothing you can do. I mean, even to
If
this day, I still feel like something needs to be done. I still feel like that my son needs to do something about it. I mean,
Well,
I'm
like I
just
said, you have a voice too, so
yeah, yeah,
and you're using it tonight.
yeah. I want him to, because I know he could help a lot of kids,
Yeah.
that's in the prison system, to survive it. Because there's so many that don't survive it. Suicide is so high. I know I'm not supposed to say that on here, but I don't care. It's high in prisons and stuff. You
It
know,
is very high, yeah.
I mean, the little girl in Tulsa, that her and her boyfriend got in a fight, and she pushed him, and he went out the window. Well, she went out here to Mabel Bassett. Well, she unalived herself,
Yeah.
and it's because it was just they got in a fight, and it was a decision. He went, she pushed him, and he went out the window. I mean, and they gave her like life,
Yeah.
and that's sad. I mean, because I just think that they need to look at people individually instead of just a piece of paper, a file on your desk.
I think there's a lot of things, yeah, that need to change.
Yeah, and I think that in the um, legal system, the legal aid that that they get, the free lawyers. I think that the money there shouldn't be a cap on if they need a professional to come in and testify to prove that they're innocent. I don't think there should be a money factor in that. They should be able to get anybody and everybody that they need to testify.
Yeah.
I mean, the prosecution can, they should be able to do it. And that's not fair. It's not right. And they're not paid enough. The ones that have to do this, they're not getting paid very much to defend these people, so they're not giving it their 100%.
Yeah.
And like I don't think Stephen Avery's lawyers, even as I think that they're good men, I just think they were intimidated and they didn't do a very good job.
Well, I
They didn't.
think there was other factors with them. I think they weren't given enough time. They
Yeah.
didn't have enough resources, and they weren't given certain evidence either. Like there's certain things
See,
that they are now finding out.
but I think that if they weren't, why didn't they stand up and fight for that? Why didn't they stand up and
Well, they
say,
didn't
"Hey"?
know about the evidence because they hid it from them. So like they didn't know that certain things that they could have used.
But why didn't afterwards? I mean, like, why after when they did find out they were hiding evidence from them? Why didn't those lawyers go in and say, "Look here, you hid this evidence from us. We want, why couldn't they file paperwork? Why can't they do something?
Well, so far, like I said, give them to their credit. They did file an affidavit with Kathleen Zellner admitting, to their own faults, to help Stephen right now, and then also, admitting that they never got certain evidence and all that stuff. So like they're doing the best they can, I think.
Yeah, it's just a place. It just seems like they should be able to be allowed to jump up and down and say, you know, we. They should be able to go in and say, "Look what was done. We need to start over," and they should do
You would
it.
think that, and I agree with you. Like if
I mean,
there was a case that
it's crazy that this happens, and then the lawyers that it happens to, their hands are tied. They have to go through. If you file this paper right or that paper right or file on this, they should be able to stand up before the judge that did all this and say, "Hey, we need a redo."
yeah.
And it should be done right there. I mean, it shouldn't be going to higher courts and people that don't know about it. It should be in people involved.
Yeah.
I mean, they just don't. They just can't see the forest for the trees, I guess.
Yeah. Well,
it's frustrating to me. I get so angry, you know. But okay, well, you want to? Okay, you want to just like pick up from here next time, and
yeah, absolutely.
We'll have more people here. I've got 4 others that's going to join us.
Okay.
They're Ginger is going to help us. You know Ginger, Out of the Shadows with Ginger.
I don't think so.
Oh, she's really sweet. You'll like her. She's had her little ups and downs with stuff, but yeah, I mean, she stood by me, no matter what. Me and her, she's really a good person, and she's going to do this with me. And as seen by subscribers, she lives here in the same town as I do, and she has a YouTube channel. We're going to do a podcast together.
Oh, cool.
But she's going to do this with me too. So, and then Marie 21, she's from a different country. She's going to do it. She's got, Marie 21.
I've heard of her. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but we're good. I mean, we're not doing the drama stuff. We're
no,
just
no, it's fine. She's the one name that pops out to me. So.
Yeah. Well, I just want to make sure that everybody knows. Everybody that I just kind of want everybody to like a fresh start with. I didn't want people that had been in drama together and all this and that. So
yeah, no, I'm here strictly to kind of like what is it, like a televangelist here.
Yeah,
I'm strictly coming with the good news of Stephen and Brendan and their innocence and all that. Like that's yeah.
And I love my postcards you send me. We need to do. I need a bumper sticker.
I had bumper stickers.
You do?
But I need to update them because of the website and all that. So when I start getting into that again, I'll just send you one.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'll send you some money. I need to buy a T-shirt and all this and that. And,
well, yeah, we can talk about that later, though. Like you can, yeah, you don't have to.
I'm putting money up to go to the rally now. I'm gonna do that.
Oh yay!
I am going to.
Yeah, I'd love to see you there. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that.
This year's rally.
I was supposed to meet Linda there this year, and that's why I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't. And and I said, well, I just won't ever do that. And I said, well, she wouldn't want me to not do it. She would want me to be there for a voice,
Yeah.
So.
Well, and it's like a little family when we all show up, and then exercise our freedom and
Nan's Life. Thank you for being here through everything. I appreciate it so much. And we're gonna have we're gonna have pictures and documents and all that we're gonna show. But we just kind of wanted to do an outline and get started on it.
Yeah.
Just to give me the push over the edge to say, okay, just do this. So, yeah.
It was fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, I am too. I'm really looking forward. This was so much fun talking to you, Becky.
Yeah.
And Kelly Cares, she was here, and Betty Damn Boot, she was here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, a lot of them will show up because I hadn't been live in a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while, so
Well, yeah.
They'll get used to it, and I'm gonna start going live, and doing a little, chit chatting with my people, and that way, kind of get it built up to where that we have more people in here.
Yeah.
So, and start sharing it out. I mean, like on yours and stuff like that,
I
and
will. I'll share it when I get off of here.
mhm.
Yeah.
And I'm going to yeah, I need to get Brandon's address because I do need to write to that kid. I mean,
Yeah. If you guys go to the BrendanDassey.com website, it has his address and how to send him a letter.
Did you do that?
Yeah.
You did the website?
Me and another friend named Carol. Yeah, we worked on this website. Pretty proud of it.
It's amazing how much you know the family and know, the dynamics and everything about what took place. It's amazing. I have so many questions. I mean, it's amazing to get the information, that you have in your brain,
Well, and
like
I'm
the
just
family
like,
dynamics.
I feel like I'm just like the tip of the iceberg of the supporters that actually I know a lot because I've been in this for so long, but like there are people out there that know way much more than me.
Yeah.
So
Because I mean, I never could see that, like Bobby letting his little brother go to prison for something that he could have done. I
no.
don't think he could have lived with that. I just don't think that he had anything to do with it. I don't think the family did. I mean, I think that they just used them against each other, and
Yeah.
And I just don't think. I think that I know that the people that I dealt with when I was in, auto repair, in that kind of business, they kind of just stay to themselves and they're quiet and they only talk when it's necessary when they, they don't really voice their opinions out in public and everything. And I think that his family being quiet, like, you know, Chuck and all them, I think that they weren't verbal and, they were just quiet people and kept to
Right.
themselves.
I think
And
the
they used
family did
that.
keep to themselves because, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
the family was very ostracized by the
Mm-hmm.
community for many decades
And they were
before.
already isolated, and I'm sure that they thought that people are not going to listen to me anyway. They don't care nothing about us,
Well, they all relied on each other, so
Yeah,
they kind of created their own. Yeah.
yeah. And that's the way that they do that. I mean, it is. It's weird, but um, I know several people that had junkyards, wrecking yards, or whatever, and they were all like that. I mean, they kept to themselves, and they all had their little family unit, and they all depended on each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's very much how they're all still
and they stayed
like the
grease
family.
monkeys. Their hands and everything stayed, grease from head to toe all the time.
Yeah.
And that's why I said, there's no way these grease monkeys did something like this, and there ain't no DNA anywhere. There's just no way.
Right. Right.
They could. It would have got out of hand. There's no way they could have cleaned that up. There's just no
Well,
way.
you can see the crime scene photos and videos and all that. You can see the house and like how it
Yeah.
looked and all the photos and stuff. Like you said, there's no way that they cleaned up.
I've seen so many crime scene pictures and stuff of people that have cleaned it up, and they sprayed luminol and turned lights on. There's the crime scene. Shows
Yeah.
every bit of it. And they cleaned it up, perfectly. There wasn't a spot on anything,
Nope.
but just like that, this one high profile case, this guy, he did it with a baseball bat, and it was all over the apartment. And his girlfriend come in and cleaned it up, and she did a great job.
Yeah.
But when they sprayed luminol, they seen it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's just no. They can't tell me that they do, that they can't test that stuff and show the crime scene, because if there was a crime scene, it would be there. They would see it.
Yeah.
And
No, I
and
agree.
just like the key to the RAV4, how you know did they find it in the RAV4? Is what I think. They found it in the RAV4, and then they put it in the Stevens house.
Yeah, I mean the assumption would be whoever planted the RAV had access to the key. But the key that they found though wasn't like the actual key that she had. It was the that key that they used to have back in the 90s when you had like a valet key or whatever they called it. When you had like a key that it only really opened the car door and turned it on, but it didn't like unlock anything else in the car. It was kind of like the valet key or something like that. They called it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the key that they found was like the valet key. It wasn't actually her key ring.
Oh, it wasn't her key ring, the one that she used.
Because on that there was no house keys or anything.
So they never even found those keys.
People, they found the valet key looking one, but a lot of people think that she had like her actual key ring is they never found it. Mm-hmm. Because like I said, there was no house keys or anything. They found possessions in the burn barrel. So like they found a camera, they found a cell phone, they found her supposedly her jeans and all that. Like they found that in one of the barrels, but they never found a house key or anything like that. So how did she get into her house? Where was her purse? You know, like there was just a bunch of like weird things.
I just wonder. I mean, when did they burn? I wonder if they burnt her stuff, the camera and all that. And did they do it in that burn barrel?
Well, they did it to make it look like, because the narrative is that Stephen burned her in the burn pit and then burned everything that she owned in a burn barrel, trying to get rid of evidence.
But they probably burn it somewhere else and then put it in there, right?
Or most likely. Well, the same way with her bones, you know, they if those are her bones, you know, they cremated it and then planted it there.
See, I just don't believe that either. I just don't believe that even is her. I mean, because they would prove 100% if it was her.
Yeah, well, it's definitely proven to be a close enough match to say at least a relative.
That's weird. Her cousin died, like,
that wasn't
right
her
there.
Cousin. That was not her cousin. It was not her blood cousin.
Oh.
Yeah, that's been proven.
Was it someone kin to her, though?
I don't know.
Because they said that it was someone kin to her, and it was, like, right there, a week? I mean, I wonder if they even looked into that. They had some kind of connection.
I don't know. Yeah, but the Coleman Botwell thing, she wasn't related to her genetically. She was married into the family, basically.
Well, didn't they find where there was something was burnt, like somewhere else at that gravel pit thing?
Yeah, they found traces of bones and stuff at the gravel pit that had nothing to do with Teresa.
Oh, okay.
So they just found, that's the other thing that's hilarious in all this, right? So while they're looking for things in the gravel pit and all that, they find bones, human bones, but they're not connected to Teresa's. And they were like, oh, bones, I guess. Oh, well. Like, they didn't try to investigate who those bones were. They didn't
even do an investigation of who that was?
Yeah.
Somebody else was murdered, and they don't even care.
And they were just like, shrug. It wasn't Teresa, so.
Isn't that crazy?
We're not going to worry about that one.
I just don't see how that they can look at this. I mean, look at either Brandon's case or Stephen's and take it serious. I mean, if they see it for what it is, I mean, it's so terrible. I mean, just the actions of them, those, like somebody else being murdered and them not doing nothing. I mean, that just don't make any sense. I mean, it seems like somebody would do something about it.
Right. Well, you would think a logical person would try to figure out whose bones those belong to.
Right. But none of these people are logical. I mean, none of them. None of them. They all.
You're not.
It's like that somebody planted something in their brain that makes them see one thing and one thing only.
Yeah.
I mean, they see it all the same way.
They're the ones that call the shots and make the rules, so, you know.
Right. And and like
hopefully
she said,
they actually
unfortunately
have those bones somewhere cataloged and maybe they're just waiting to see if, I hope that they're doing something with them, but like, no, they were
it's just my son's best friend come up missing when they were 11, and they found him they found his skull a few months later, but they didn't identify him for 16 years.
Holy cow.
And that's all that they found. And I called down there. They don't even have a file on him. They don't even, the sheriff that was sheriff at the time, the only missing kid in our town ever in history, he don't even remember it.
Wow.
And there's no file. The guy that's investigating the cold case file, I talk to him once a year, and I gave him more information than anybody gave him. And they haven't the police in our town didn't even investigate at all. Didn't put out flyers or nothing.
Wow.
And
that's sad, actually.
And his friends, we know exactly who did it. And I told him, I said, this is the deal. He was abused, and this is what happened. And now the mother is divorced from that guy that we think did it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not even, they live in California. He goes, well, they're in California. And he goes, if you find him, because my son and me are trying to track him down, well, and you find out anything, will you let me know?
Yeah.
They wait until people do the investigating for them and drop the information in their laps.
Yeah.
And they're not even bothering going to California because it's so far away from here. I mean, it's sad.
Yeah.
They
don't
bother.
have, what they need to do is call California's police and work with them.
Exactly.
Because they don't
the
have...
mother's divorced from him now. Maybe the mother will do something. She was a drunk then.
Oh.
And the apartment they lived in burnt down 2 weeks after it happened because they was burning evidence. I mean, it was obvious, and they didn't even investigate. And
what kind of town do you live in? There's a lot of, like...
Oklahoma.
It's in... Okay. I'm sorry. I don't mean... Don't dox yourself.
It's terrible. Oklahoma is terrible. I'm not kidding you. It's bad.
Like, newspaper people get shot on the street, and,
yeah.
Apartments burnt down, and...
You just wouldn't believe the stuff that happens here.
Yeah.
Like, there's another case that I cover. A little 19-year-old girl. It was my husband's best friend's niece. They found her behind a grocery store in a duffel bag, cut up, and they did it while she was alive.
Oh my God!
And all of her parts wasn't even there. And we have put together, and a daughter of a serial killer here has come forth, and they think that he's the one that did it because it's same MO. So we're trying to put things together there on that case.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. I was gonna say that's.
When 2 YouTubers come to investigate it, dig this: 2 YouTubers come to investigate it and disappeared.
No, they didn't.
Oh, yes, they did.
What's this case called?
It's a wait, I gotta think of the name. I can't even remember her name. Wait a minute, let me go back and look. Let's see. It's Serena. What's her last name? God bless. Saunders. Corina Saunders.
Corina
Saunders. Saunders.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Yeah. And I'll be covering that pretty soon. I'm trying to get her mom to do an interview with me. But yeah, we did. I mean, it was terrible. It's the saddest thing you ever seen in your life. I'm telling you, because they still don't know what happened. But then the daughter of the serial killer come forth, and she talked about it, and it does. It's the same MO as the other people he killed. I mean, it's just so bizarre. But the daughter was scared, and the daughter seen the murders of a couple of them when she was little, because it was when she was little when it happened. I mean, like when she was younger, the first one. That's the one that she thinks she saw. But she blocked it out for years and years until she was an adult. And then he died, and then memory started coming back to her. The abuse that she did. And he, one of his things was he would cut their hair off a certain way, like chop it off a certain way, because he chopped the girl's hair off a certain way, the daughter's. and Karina come up missing on that girl's birthday.
Yeah.
So we've been putting two and two together, and we think that's really what happened instead of it being a drug related thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
it's terrible. I mean, what the family's going through, because we were real close to the family, and to see that family just disintegrate because
Yeah.
they don't have no answers. It's to a dead end. But she has given all the information to the family now, so hopefully something will be done.
Yeah, hopefully something positive will happen.
Yeah.
And
But the mom she goes, Cheryl, I don't mind you covering it. She said, but please be careful. She
yeah.
said, do not go down there and try to investigate and talk to people like the other two did. And she said, because they disappeared.
Yeah.
I don't know their names or anything. I didn't look into that, When she
Yeah.
said that, it kind of spooked me.
That would spook me too.
Yeah. But things happen here. They just don't investigate. They don't care. They just don't. Like little towns. It made me sick when I called down there and I talked to because I know all the police down there. And I called and I'm like, you remember, Thomas went missing, did y'all have a file on him when you were sheriff? And he
Hmm.
goes, I don't even remember that case. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what? The only child that ever come missing in our town and you don't remember?
Yeah.
What does that say? I mean, it just made me sick. But yeah, I got a few things. I mean, that I'm close to that I'm looking into on the true crime. So
Yeah. That'll be interesting.
yeah, and I'm gonna have footage of the serial killers where he lived and stuff like that. I am gonna have that footage.
Yeah.
I am gonna go down there and do that. So
That'll be fun.
yeah. All right. Well, I guess we better get off here. Oh, good Lord, look how long we've been on. It's been
Yeah.
fun though.
Yes. Thank you for
We,
having me.
yeah, we needed to talk about this.
Yeah.
No drama. It was really nice.
Yeah.
No. But yeah, my people will start coming in when they learn, that I'm coming back live.
Yeah. No worries.
Yeah, they will. I mean, I don't know if you heard what happened or not, with me and MKB, but
Mm. Yeah. Well, it's for another time.
yeah, but yeah, I'll talk to you about it.
Yeah.
But I'm good with it. I'm happy with what I did, and I'm good with it.
Yeah. Well,
So
life goes on.
yeah, I got to do true crime. That's what I was, that's what I wanted to do to begin with. So,
Yeah.
but
Well, thank you
thank
for having
you.
me.
Yes, thank you for being here. I appreciate you so much. You just don't know.
Yeah, I appreciate you. This was fun.
And I hope that Linda's proud of us.
I think she is. I think
Yeah.
she's really proud of. I think she's really proud of you. So
I miss her so much. I still text her,
yeah,
Yeah, I
I
do.
I still we had a Discord together. I still message her in there.
You do?
Yeah, I talk
I
to her
still
all
have
the
all
time in
of
my head too. So
yeah. I have all of her messaging and everything, and she was just so dear to me. I mean,
yeah,
she's the one I went to because I trusted her more than anybody in the world.
yeah. No, I
It's
know
just
she
not.
was very. I know she really liked you too. She would brag about you all the time. So
Thank you.
no, I'm
I
serious
love
because
her
that's how
so
I met
much.
you was through her. So
I know.
yeah, she.
Mm. Her laugh, her laugh stays with me all the time.
Yeah. Well,
Every time that they.
I watch her videos a lot too, just to hear her talking and laughing and
Are they still on?
oh yeah, her whole channel's still up.
It is.
Yep.
Is her kids doing okay and everything?
Yeah, I think they are. I think they're
Mm.
taking it day by day because I think this was like the first anniversary of everything,
Yeah.
or maybe it was the second, but I don't know. Because she unfortunately passed right before the holidays, so it was
Mm.
really fast.
Yeah. She was so amazing.
Yep.
So amazing. She was like the most amazing person I ever met, I swear. I looked up to her so much, Her laugh was just like a ray of sunshine to me. Every time that there's something funny, I hear her laugh. Every time I laugh about something. It's
Yeah.
so funny. Well,
Well, I
thank
gotta
you for
get
being here.
going. Yeah.
Yes, thank you for being here. It was really fun. And I guess I was gonna try to do it on do True Crime Tuesday, maybe, but you have to work, right?
Yeah, I work smack dab in the middle of the day, but I'll message you my hours and all that, and we'll work something.
Okay, yeah, so we can work it out for everybody because I know a couple of people had, things that they do on Saturday night, but I told them, I said, I've got to do this because if I don't start, I'm not ever going to,
Yeah.
So, all right, well, thank you. I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Thank you.
And everybody watching replay, hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.